Now, in today's video, we are going to be building a real functional app, and we're also going to be unlocking parts of the app via an in-app purchase. And so in this video, you're going to learn everything that you need to know from A to Z, how to build any app with in-app purchase functionalities using my favorite no-code builder of choice, FlutterFlow. And so make sure you watch the video carefully. Feel free to rewind to any section that you may have not understood fully. And also let me know if you have any questions or comments below. And so without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now remember, all the apps and all the resources that you see on this channel can be viewed and or cloned from our amazing Patreon community. And if you're still not a member, you can learn more and hopefully become one by visiting the first link in the description below the video. All right, so the app that we're going to be building is going to be a simple weather app with in-app purchase functionality. And the purpose of this app is to show you how easy it is to integrate in-app functionality to lock up pretty much any features that you want. And this is going to be very, very flexible. And so you are going to be able to see how easy it is to do with this app. And you'll also be able to take this knowledge and kind of this technique and apply it to pretty much any app that you want. So you're going to get a ton of value in this video, this tutorial, if you are looking to do in-app purchase functionality, which is a great way to monetize your app. Okay, so the app is going to be a weather app. Okay, and so the idea here is going to be something similar to like a weather app that you have on your phone, especially if you're using like an Apple device. Okay, so here we have a couple of views here, a couple of screens. And so the first screen is going to display a list of places that you have chosen to display the weather. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. You'll be able to add, delete places, but we'll also have a twist, right? So we're going to have in-app purchasing feature here that will allow you to add more than 2 cities. So you can add 2 cities for free, but if you want to add more than 2 cities, you'll have to you'll have to purchase this premium plan, this premium package. And the next screen is going to be a detail page, right? So you can click on the city, get redirected here, and you're going to see a detail for that city, all of these things, a daily forecast, but we're gonna lock it up. And so you know, by default it's gonna give you like 3 days, but if you want to see more, so like 7 or more, you'll have to purchase this functionality. And this is gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be under the same entitlement in RevenueCat, which is what we're gonna be using to do all of this, to simplify all of this. And so as soon, you know, as soon as the person purchases, let's say this package, they'll be able to have access to this whole thing right here because it's the same package, if you will. Okay. And the last screen is going to be the app settings, where the person can change whether they want to see this in Celsius or Fahrenheit. And as well, they'll be able to see their in-app purchase information, whether they have purchased this or not. Okay. So a fairly simple app, but still a real app that is going to have in-app purchasing functionality in a very kind of flexible fashion, in a very easy to use way that will allow you to use it in all kinds of apps. All right, so let's jump into FlutterFlow and let's start building the app. Okay, so here I am inside of my FlutterFlow dashboard here. I have a lot of apps here. I've been doing this for quite a while. Chances are you may not have as many apps, but nevertheless, we're going to click here, create new, and we're just going to say weather app. Okay, and I'm just going to say IA. Weather app in-app purchase. Okay, we're gonna click here, and here we're gonna disable Firebase and start building. Okay, because we're not gonna be using any backends here. It's all gonna be using app state. Okay, so now we have the app, and so here we can say, let's say weather cities or places or something like this. And here we're going to display the places. And so this, I'm just going to say home. And then the next one is going to be a detail page. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate that. I'm just going to say detail. Okay, this is our detail. And this is going to be weather for whatever for a certain place. I'm just going to put square brackets so that we know there's going to be something there. All right, so that is what we have so far. And we also need a configuration page. And for that, I think we can use one of the built-in ones, right? So if I click over here and I go into settings, there's some templates that I can use, and maybe something like this. Okay, so that is what I want to do. Just going to say profile or settings, something like this. Okay, and so that is what we have. We have an error here, and that is because it's using authentication. So we're not going to be using authentication here, right? We're not going to be, it's just a simple weather app. There's no need for authentication. So I'm going to remove all the things that deal with auth. And I think in this case is just that. We don't really need any of this. We're going to have it display something else. We probably don't even need any of this because there's not going to be a login. All we really want to display is where, if this is in-app purchase is active or not, right? And this may be like do we want it to be in Celsius or Fahrenheit? Okay, so if you take a look here, this one, in fact, we can probably duplicate this rows because it has this switch tile. We can use it for Celsius or Fahrenheit as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this container, I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm just going to delete these other containers here. Okay. And this thing here, I'm just going to change it to, let's say the default is Celsius, and we're just going to go from there. And then depending what the user chooses, we're going to switch this later. Okay, so something very, very simple. And this is, I'm just going to make this purchased or premium. Okay, something like this. Premium by default, it might be off. Okay, because let's say they just run the app, they don't have access to premium. And let's say Celsius by default is off as well. Okay, so by default, everything is off, premium is off, Celsius is off. So that means it's going to be in Fahrenheit by default. All right. And here we have an icon. We can change it to something else. Let's search for temp. Anything with temperature, nothing. Okay, how about heat or something like this? Let's take a look. Let's see, fire. Perfect. So this is gonna work, right? So a thermometer here, right? And this is premium, whatever. Okay. So now we have our pages. The next thing that we need to do is we need to get a way to get weather forecasts, right? And we're going to be using an API for this, right? So there's lots of APIs that you can use. One of the APIs that I kind of selected here is weatherapi.com, and that is because they have a generous free plan. So you don't need to, enter your credit card details. You don't need to pay anything if you are happy with these features, right? So we're going to get like 3-day forecast. We might not have, a bunch of these features, but this is enough for us to get started. So I already have an account here. If you choose to go with this API, you can sign up here. I'm going to go ahead and log in. All right, so here I am logged in and I have my API key and I can start making requests. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do here is you want to copy your API key and you want to go into API Explorer and you want to see what the API looks like. Okay, so I'm going to paste my key here. I'm going to leave this on default. You can choose HTTPS. I'm going to leave this in JSON, and here you can pass the city. Okay, so let's say we just leave it with London here, and I can just do a show response. So when I execute show response, I get all of this here. Now you can adjust the data that you see in the response by going back here and clicking on API response fields. Okay, so these are the fields that you get for current weather, but for forecast and future history, I deselected a lot of these fields because I don't need all of this. If you leave all of this on, you get a ton of fields. So like, snow, we don't need any of that. All I care about is max temp in Celsius, Fahrenheit, in case I want to display a certain one. And min temp, that is what I care about. Maybe we'll come back and we'll, select and add more of these. But for now, this is good enough. So I'm going to hit save. And now if I go into my API Explorer, paste the API show response, you see my response body is fairly brief, right? By default, you're going to be getting so many fields. So it's a good idea to do it like this. So we have temperature in Celsius, current, right? We also have a bunch of these other ones, and I'm actually doing current, right? If I go into forecast and I show response, I still have a fairly brief response, right? Because if you don't deselect the fields, you're going to be seeing lots of data here, which you may not need. Okay. Now the next thing that you want to do is you want to create the API call. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to add this API call and I'm going to say get weather. And so if you come over here to API Explorer, put the key. We have current, we have forecast. So if I do show response, you see how it executes this current JSON. So we need two separate API calls depending on what we're doing. Okay. And so for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to copy this for the first one, right? And I'm going to call this get weather current. I'm going to copy it here. And I believe this is a get request, right? It is a get request, okay? Because we're passing all of this here. There's no body here, okay? So it's a simple get request. And I'm going to say add call. Now, one thing we need to do is we need to make sure this here is a parameter. And also the key is a parameter, okay? All of these need to be parameters, okay? And so for that, I'm going to go into variables and I'm going to create three variables. I'm going to say API key. I'm going to do location, and these are going to be strings. And I'm going to hit save, and now I can pass them in here, right? So I can just say, well, we have API key, add parameter, and we have location. And I can say these are going to be from a variable, API key, location, hit save, okay? And so now we can test it out, okay? And before we do that, let's go ahead and make sure that these are dynamic, right? So if you hover over here, you can see that you need to put it inside of square brackets. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to replace this with API key, and I'm going to replace this with location, okay? So if we hit save, there we have it. So now let's go ahead and test it out. I'm going to paste this API key for testing. There's my API key, paste it here, and you see it pastes automatically into the request. And location, I'm just going to put London. Yeah, it's adding it automatically because we have it configured here, right? So it's taking these and putting them there, okay? So if you're doing query parameters, you don't need to put them there, right? Because it adds it automatically, okay? So now you can see API key location, okay? So now we can test our call, test it, and API key is invalid. Let me double check. What is the, it's key. It's not API key. Key and Q. Okay, so we need to make sure we have it set up correctly. So this should be key and this should be Q. Save. Let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, so now we're getting the data. And now that we see the data here, we need to parse this data. Now, you can't do that using these JSON paths and all of that. So you see all of these things. But a much easier way to do it would be to automatically create a data structure from all of this, right? So what we can do here, we can take this response, we can select all of it, right? And we can create a custom data type and then automatically parse the response into this data type. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to call it weather response. And I'm going to paste all of this here, and it's going to create it. Let me see. I think we missed this. Let me see. Does that? I think we missed invalid. Do we need another one? Let me go ahead and back and see what we missed. So if we come over here, response and test. Okay, so all of this, we're going to paste it. And another thing I like to do is I have this app here to verify that the JSON is correct. So if I paste it, JSON is correct. So this is going to work. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to create another one. I'm going to paste it first. Okay, no errors. And I'm going to say weather. Okay, I'm going to hit create. And what that did was it took that JSON response and it created the appropriate data. And this is great because now we have all of this here. We don't need to worry about JSON paths. All of this is available. So just to show you how easy it is now, we're going to go back to our API setup, and we want to select this parse as a data type. Select this root one, not these ones, right? Because these are like child types. You want to select the one that you initially created, and that's it. It's not a list, because if you go to our JSON viewer, there's no list, right? If it was like this, right? If it was like this, in fact, not like this, like this, that would be a list. Even like this, right? That would be a list, something like this, right? If it had these these square brackets, that would be a list, but that is not a list right now. Okay, I messed something up. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, so this is not a list, right? This is not a list. You might have lists inside of it, but you know that's at the top level, this is not a list. Okay, so now we're gonna hit save. We're saving it here, and now when we actually make this call, we're gonna have access to this data type, and you can get the fields that you need, right? Because if we go over here, you can see we have this weather, we get a location and a current. And so if we go to the JSON, you see we get location, current, and then inside, we also have these, we have condition, we have this, and you can click here, condition, current. So it makes it super easy to get the fields that we need. It makes it really, really easy. And while I'm at it, let's go ahead and create the second API call to get the forecast. So I'm gonna say get. In fact, what I can just do is I can just duplicate it, all right? Because it's going to be fairly similar. I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to say this is going to be get weather forecast. Always save, because it doesn't save automatically. And I think this just goes into forecast here. And let's take a look at the stuff that we need to pass. So it's the same thing. Key in London, right? I think the data is going to be the data might be different. Let's go ahead and execute it. Key London, you also have AQI. This is, I think, air quality. And alerts, we can pass that. And this is the stuff that we're getting back. So now we have this forecast. I don't believe this was there before, right? So we don't have forecast condition because it's not a forecasting API. So what we need to do here is we need to create another data type, right? So I'm going to go in here first. Well, first I need to, configure it, right? So forecast, come over here. Everything is there and everything. Yeah, everything is there. So it's nice that we duplicated it because everything is there. So now I can go back here and I can test the API call and I should get it. So now I'm also getting forecast, which we didn't have before. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this. I'm going to make sure it's correct. Paste it. You see, it's this new forecast object that we don't have before. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a new data type, right? We can potentially just create a new one and reuse it because it's very, very similar. They kind of share a lot of things, but just to make things simpler, I'm just going to create a new one. Weather forecast response. It's just good practice. Paste all of this here, hit create, okay? And so this one now, unlike this previous, it has this one, but it also has these two, right? So potentially we can probably reuse this forecast response. But the truth is, I don't know if there's some stuff inside the difference. So it's a good idea to create both of these, right? So in fact, for this one, I'm just going to rename it to current. I can't rename it here. But what I can do is I can duplicate it and I can say weather current response, okay? Just to keep things a little tidy, create it, and then I can delete this one. Okay, so now we have weather current and weather forecast. Okay, so now let's go back here. Let's take a look. Okay, let me take, we need to change. So this is weather current. We need to parse it into weather current response. And then we need to go into weather forecast and we need to parse it into weather forecast. All right, so now let's go ahead and test it out. There's no errors. This should work. And we have this forecast over here. Looks good. Okay, so now we have our APIs configured here and we are ready to go to the next steps, meaning to actually build out the UI and tie it all together. All right, so the first thing that I want to work on is the main page, right? This home page that's going to display something like this right here. So let's go work on this and then we'll do some of the in-app stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it like this so that we can see. All right, so there it is. Okay, so it looks something like this, and let's go ahead and make it something very, very similar. Okay, now when we display the items, we need to store them, right? Because these are going to be user configurable. So we're going to be storing all of this in app state. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create an app state variable to store all of this. And what kind of things do we want to store? Well, we can just store the city name, right? Just to make things very, very simple. We just want to just store the name of the city. Okay, we can store coordinates and all that, but right now let's just store the name of the city. So I'm going to go ahead into our app state and I'm going to create cities, and this is going to be a list of strings. Okay, just to keep things simple, and I'm going to add a couple of cities. Okay, so let's say we're going to add London and we're going to add Beijing. Okay, So now we have this defined here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually design the UI here. Okay, so this says weather. I'm just gonna make it similar. I'm just gonna say weather, and let's go ahead and create. So these are basically a list of cards. Right, so we have a list of cards. A card is essentially like a container. Okay, it takes the shape, the width and the height, right, the size of whatever is inside. Okay, so this card here has two columns, right? So immediately we see two columns, and then inside the columns we have a bunch of rows. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add a row, right? And inside the row I'm going to start off with two columns. Okay, just so that we can start building this. Okay, and now for these columns, what do we want to do? Well, we want this to be kind of right aligned and this to be maximized, right? Because the city name can be long, right? This could be longer, but this is going to be fixed. Okay, so for this column, we want it to be set here, and this column is going to be left on default. And so this one is going to be greedy then. And so inside the first column, we're going to get a bunch of rows. Okay, and we're going to add another row, and we can also add another row as well. Or in fact, we can just have it to two rows. That's fine. Just to make it a little bit simpler. Okay, and so inside of these ones, let's go ahead and add some text, and let's go ahead and do some padding. Okay, so we want to have a little bit of padding for this column. Okay, so I'm gonna try 10. Okay, that looks fine. And so this one here is going to be a little bit of, it's going to be a little larger text. It's going to have a little larger text. And also we're going to make it bold. Okay. And then this one is going to be a little smaller. So this is, in this case, this is my location, but typically it's going to say the city and the time in that city or something like that. Okay, in fact, we can make it even bigger. Okay, that looks good. And so now we have these two rows here, and this one here is going to have one row, right? So we're going to come in here, we're going to do one row, and I'm going to explain to you why. Okay, so now we have this one row that takes the space of these two rows here, and this is going to have the temperature, the current temperature. So we're going to do this, and this is going to be, I don't know, 32 maybe. Yeah, sounds about right. Maybe even bolder. Let's make it a little bit bolder, semi-bold. Yeah, that looks fine. So if you put something like 66, oh no, that's fairly small. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks better. And let's go ahead and fix our padding here. Okay, so we have this padding here. In fact, we can even do it on the card level, right? We can do it on the card level. So that looks pretty good. That looks about right. And then as you can see, we also have another row here. And so what I would recommend here is we duplicate this row, okay? We put it inside of a column, okay? And so that way, this bottom one will be in its own kind, it will be aligned properly. Okay, it's going to be easier. And so the second row, what we're going to do is we are going to just have one row here, and this is going to be also one row, which is kind of what we have, except it's going to be the same font size, right? So this is 14, something like this. And let's take a look. Looks good. Now there's padding on this one, right? So like if we take a look here, take a look, not on this row. Well, in fact, no, the row doesn't have any padding, so that's fine. That looks good. And this is going to be like mostly clear. It's going to be the current weather, right? So something like this. So this might say high of 79 and then low 56. Okay, so that's starting to come together. In fact, that looks really nice. I think there's just more padding on this card, not on the card, but on the column. Let me see this. Card, not on the card, but what do we have it on this internal column? I think on the row. That's what we need to do. Something like this. I'm going to remove this from the column because it doesn't need to be on the column level. And I'm going to remove it here. Okay, so now it's going to be this padding is going to be on this column, on this row, excuse me. So this row has a padding of 10. This row will also have a padding of 10. Okay, so let's take a look. So we have this padding of 10. And if we go over here, this row, it's the wrong row, I think. Yeah, this row, let me take a look. Yeah, this columns, yeah, we need to remove it from these columns because we're only going to be doing it on the row level. Okay, so now that looks pretty clean to me, right? We can also have like rounded corners if you want. If you take a look at this card. So the problem is on a card, yeah, you can have a border radius. Okay, I thought you can't, but you can. Okay, so there we have it. We have some rounded corners. We can make it more. We can make it 15. And so a card is like a container. It's like a light container. Okay, so we have this row. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, and then this row here has a 10. This has a 10. We can do 10. We can set the padding and make it centered. Okay, and then we can set the padding on the, let's see. And then we can bring this down. Let's do that. That's gonna look. Okay. 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 So now it looks perfect. This is exactly what I want. Okay. It looks really, really clean. And so this is going to be a list of cities that we've saved that we want to get a weather forecast for. Okay. So we have this UI here. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to wrap this in a list, right? I'm going to come here, wrap widget in a list view. Okay, so now we have a list view, and now we can feed it some data, meaning like how many times we want to repeat this. Okay, so what we can do is we can come over here and we have app state. We can just do cities, and this is going to be city item, and then we can, you know, display the name of the city. So the first thing is going to be the name of the city. Okay, and then we can simply, you know, get the data from an API call and display all of this data. And so let's go ahead and run our app and see how it looks. Does it look good when we run? Let's go see how it looks. All right, so here we are. This is how our app looks like, and it looks decent. It looks fairly decent. One thing that I would do is add a little bit of maybe a shadow, a drop shadow. But other than that, it looks pretty clean. Maybe make this a little bit less bold, leaving this bold. Let's go ahead and do that. Just fix it up a little bit. So this is semi-bold. Make it maybe normal, maybe like medium. Medium is fine. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Maybe let's see if we can add some drop shadow with this. So you can't do it with a card, right? You would be able to do it with a container. Okay, because this one doesn't have it as, oh yeah, wait, you can do elevation. Okay, there we can. So we can do it using this elevation feature. Actually, the next thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of drop shadow. So if you select card, you can do it via this elevation. So you can put something like 2, and that gives it that little bit of a drop shadow. Another thing that I want to fix is there's some spacing here, right? And this is because this card has this padding. So we need to remove this padding. And the way that we're going to be doing it is we're going to do padding on the sides. And maybe just a little bit. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, we don't even need to do it between them, right? Top to bottom. I mean, we can add it from the top, in fact, and that's going to be enough. So we can do something like this. No, wrong one. This one, maybe 3. Okay, and that moves it down, gives it a little bit of space. Okay, let's go ahead and refresh, see how it looks. All right, there we have it. Looks pretty good to me. I mean, it looks pretty clean, if you ask me. I think there's a lot of space here. Maybe make this space a little bit less, but it looks pretty clean. Let me take a look and see what we can do there. So we have this row. It has a lot of padding, so we can remove the padding. Let's go ahead and make it like 5 and 10 and 10, so it matches the other row, and also towards the bottom. Let me fix that. And then from the top, we can even remove it. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, let's go ahead and refresh it. And that's gonna look really nice. Okay, so there we have it. So that looks pretty clean, right? Looks pretty nice. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we need to get the data for all of this, right? So how do we do it? Well, if we go back here, this is our weather API, and we need to see, because right now, right, if we do forecast, you see how it has this parameter for one place. And so if we go over here, we kind of read more about it by reading its API. You have something called a bulk request, and it tells us if you are on Pro Plus, Business, or Enterprise plan, then you may use our bulk weather option to send multiple locations to get weather. Okay, so we are not on the plan, we're in the free plan. Okay, so in our case, what we can do is we can simply execute the same API call for each city. Okay, and the way that we're gonna do is we're gonna do it simply in place. Okay, so right here, as it's doing it, we can simply execute an API call at this card level. Okay, so we can simply come over here at query API call get weather. What do we need? Current, I think. Actually, did I check current or did I check forecast? If you go to current, maybe we can do it with current. Current query. Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah, if we go back here, yeah, it's still a bulk request. I think it's not gonna work. So if you go to real-time API, which is what we're using, and you go into for a given city. Okay, so we need this bulk request API, it seems to me, and we we don't have access to it because we're not on one of the paid plans. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm just gonna use this, and I'm gonna just pass my API key, come over here. Where's my API key? Right here. Copy that, paste it here, and then set additional variables. That is gonna be the name of the city. Location, and we have the location because it's city item. Right, so London, Beijing, confirm. And now we're gonna execute an API call for each of these items. And so now what we can do is, this is gonna be the time. I don't know if we're getting time back, but let's display the current temperature. And am I executing the right one here? Get weather current. Yep, that is correct. Click this, and now we need to get the response. And so the response needs to be parsed, right? So this is the response, and so we need to parse it. Okay, so if I select this, I can say as data type, and I can say data structure field, and what do I want? Well, I want current, right? I want current, and now what I have data structure field, and now I can select what I want. So temp C or temp F. Okay, so this is gonna depend on the settings, but right now let's do temp C, confirm, and well, actually we need to format it, right? We can just do, we want to display it as, just do no formatting, that is fine. So that's going to get our item there, right? Our weather. And same thing for high and low. Okay, so here we need to combine. In fact, let's go ahead and do this first. This one as data type, data structure field, current. Let's see, data structure field. And now we can get, what do we have? Cloud is a humidity condition. I think it's going to be condition. Well, data structure field, text, icon, code. Okay, so we're going to do text. We can also get an icon. Okay, we need a default value. I'm just going to put E. That's for empty. Because if we come back over here and we scroll down, what is the condition? Sunny. Okay, so that's what we can also display an image, right? So if you come over here and we load that, you see the sun. We can also display the sun if you want to, maybe in the background or something. We have access to that. This is nice. And so let's come back over here and then let's do high and low. So here we need to do combine text. We're gonna do high, and this is gonna be high, and next this is gonna be, and then we need to do low, and this is gonna be low, and I also want like a spacing, something like this. Okay, so this is gonna be high, data structure field, current, data structure field. Let's see. Do we have high? Are we getting high, or is that something else? I think that's part of the forecast. I don't think that's part of this temp C, or maybe I turned it off. Let me go ahead and see my account. Let's go into API response fields. Did I turn it off? Okay, so for current, I didn't turn off anything. For forecast, right? This is turned on, but this is only for forecast. Okay, fine. Okay. So this is actually a forecast API. This is not, this high-low is forecast. Okay, so let's fix that later. Let's fix that later. Let's just keep this like this. Okay, let's have that combo there. And let's go ahead and run our app and see if that works. Okay, let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, so now we get an error. Type double is not a subtype of int. Okay, and looks like there's some issue, right? Double is not a subtype of int. And let's see what's happening here. We have the city names. So let's see where the issue is. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's gotta be this. It's gotta be this temp C. Let's go ahead and format it as a decimal automatic. Let's go ahead and see if that fixes it. Okay, it says type double is not a subtype of int. Let me take a look at our API. Let's see what's happening here. So if you execute this is current, which is what we're executing. We are getting, let's see. I think the issue is, yeah, you see this is the temperature is actually a double. This is a double, right? This is what we're trying to do. But for some reason, let me take a look at our data types here. Maybe it's the parsing. Let's see here. Let's take a look at our data types. So we have current. If we go over here, we have current, and you see it's double. Yeah, this is correct. Double. This is absolutely correct. So that is what we're getting. So why is it? Yeah, this is double. Double is not. It's trying to get it into an int. Okay, let me see what's happening. Number format. No further changes. Okay, let's set a default value. Let's put 0.0 because it's a double. Let's go ahead and see if that works. Let me go ahead and remove this just to see if that is the issue. Maybe it's something else completely. completely. Let's see if that fixes it. Okay, so it looks like it's something else completely. Is it this one? I go ahead and remove that. Go ahead and do this. I think it's the API call that's failing. No, this works. Okay, so it was failing somewhere else. Okay, let's go ahead and try this again. So if I click here, response as data type, data structure field, current, data structure field, temp C. We need a default value and just go 0, 0, and that no, and now we know that's gonna fail. That's a failure. Let's go ahead and reload this. Okay, now it's failing. So it's something there. It's the parsing. It's gotta be the parsing. Temp C. It's gotta be the parsing. Let's go ahead and see why is that happening. Let's try temp F, see if that works. It's got to be in the parsing. Okay, let's say I want to display location. Let me see if that works. I want to display the name. Okay, let me see what the issue is here, because the name is, let's say I want to display country. Okay, because it gets me all of this stuff. It also gets me the local time, which is going to be useful for this field here, in fact. So let's say I want to display the country. Okay, and here I'm just gonna put C. Okay, let's go ahead and reload this. Let me see if that loads. No, it's not. Why doesn't it do that? London is fine. Interesting. Okay, looks like it's having some issues parsing it, because if you go over here, you see it's displaying it, and this is, looks like there's some issues with it parsing. Even if we don't try to display it, let's go back here, and the only field that I'm trying to display is this one, right? Because if I remove it, it's gonna be fine. Like if I come over here, okay, so there's no issues now, right? It's only when we try to parse it, do we have an issue? Okay, let me take a look. I want to, let's say I want to display location here, data structure field, country. Okay, so that's gonna, I put E here. Okay, so that's gonna give me problems. Okay, so that's giving me problems. See what the issue is. Why is that giving me problems? You click here, you can see that JSON body, country, location, value. It's this thing that's probably failing. Yeah, maybe from map. That's what's failing right here. Because if you click over here, you can see that somewhere from map. You see that this from map is failing. Okay, so a little bit of extra debugging there. Okay, so let's try something else. Let's try it using just a JSON paths. Okay, so if we come over here, let's try JSON path, see if that works. So if I do test, I can just capture what I need. So let's say, what do I need here? Let's say I want to capture the country, and I also want to capture temp C and temp F. Okay, so I'm just going to say country, and I'm going to say temp C and temp F. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. Let's see if that works. Okay, come back over here, and no more JSON body, predefined path. And now let's say I do country. Let's see if that works now. It could be the logic, the parsing logic. Okay, so now this works. Okay, so that was definitely the parsing logic. Okay, so let's go ahead and fix this. Thankfully, it's still easy to do. I'm just going to put temp C here, and high-low is going to come from the forecasting. So that's a different thing. I'm just going to click over here. Okay, and there we have it. So London is 20 degrees Celsius, Beijing is 20.1. Is that right? It's almost the same. Can't that be true? Let's go ahead and double check. If I put Beijing here, I mean, it could be 20.1. Okay, right? Beijing is 20.1. Yep. Yep. Wow, what a coincidence. Okay, so let's go ahead and display the time and display the current weather conditions. Come over here. This is going to be the time, so we need to capture it. Come over here, and let's go ahead and do a test. Let's capture the current weather conditions. Sunny. That's the weather conditions and the time. So, okay, and this is local time. And that's it. Now we can just hit save. We're good to go. So this seems to be this parsing. Maybe it's some kind of an edge case, but this seems to be a bug with their parsing logic. That is my first kind of intuition, right? That is my assumption there. All right, click here. This is the current time, not as data type, as JSON body, predefined path, and this is the time, local time. Okay, this is our local time here, so that's gonna display it right under. Let's put E, and this is gonna be the conditions, and we need a default variable. I'm just gonna put E. Okay, let's go ahead and refresh this. Okay, so now it says clear, it's sunny in London, and it's clear here, and that is the time. So for this time here, what we want to do is we only want to display the time, right? We don't really need the date. Okay, so we can just display the time there. Okay, and so what we're gonna do is we need to do a little bit of formatting there to get it to do that. But before that, I want this temp, I want it to be just as an integer. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna and like this. That's it. That's by default an integer. Okay, so that's going to be an integer. And the local time, well, we want it to be properly formatted. So let me take a look here. Let me take a look at what's happening. So this local time, what we can do is we can have it as, oh, we can't. We can't edit this JSON time because it's a string, but we want it to be a, well, let me see if anything would work. Because if we could set it, in fact, let's go ahead and do test and click here. Can we change it? No, we can't. If we could make it a date time, then it would have worked because this is exactly it. Okay, then we can do lots of things with it. So if we make it anything, I don't think that's going to help us. So if you come to data type, to data type, no, that's not what we want. Local time, no further changes. Why don't we just do let me see. What is the maybe this is gonna work. Let's see if we can convert selected fields. So this is location, local time. Let's see if this is gonna work. Actually, we need to first see if it's correctly set here. So if you go into location, local time, it's still a string, so that's not gonna help us. That's not gonna help us. So what we need to do is we need to create a code expression or a custom function that simply strips out that date part and only leaves the time. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna just have local time. Let me see how it looks. So this is how it looks. And so what we need to do is we just need to split it by space and take the second item. So this is fairly simple. We can just do this, copy, click over here and do a code expression. Argument is going to be a string. We're going to pass it like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take var1 by space, and then we can get the second element. So 1 is the second element, 0 is the first element. Okay, let's go ahead and check this. No errors, and that should work. Okay, it returns a string, not a list, and let's see if this works. And there we have it. So now you see the local time, 1505, which is correct, and 2205. Okay, this looks good. The only thing that we need to do is this, high and low, because this is another call. And so we can potentially add another call in there. Okay, or we can use the forecast API. Let me see, is the forecast API any good? Does it give us what we need? Yeah, it has current as well. So we should be using the forecast API in the first place. Okay, so in fact, we don't even need, I mean, current is nice. Current does not give us a high and low, does it? And so what we can do is we can just use days 1, and that's going to give us the data, max time and min time, that we can display here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to switch APIs, right? Or more specifically, we're only going to be using this get weather API because it gives us a lot more data and it's going to be more useful for us, right? So if we test it out here, we can see we're also getting the current, okay? And we're also getting the forecast. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, right? Because forecast has current as well. Okay, so let's go back and let's go ahead and fix this. We're doing it. Actually, we're doing it here. I'm going to go and switch to forecast. Okay, and here we're going to pass our API key and we're going to pass our location. Let me get my API key right here. Pass it right here. And the location is the city that we have here. So now we're going to have everything. And we also need to save these JSON paths here, okay? And so let's go back. Actually, we need to save all of them. We need to redo it, right? So if we go in here, we're gonna do test API call. And so what we need is, what do we need? We need local time, we need condition, we need current temp in both. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and walk here. So we need local time, we need condition, we need the current temperature, should be current. Do I skip it? Is it all? Yeah, right here. And let's save both of these. And we also can get the forecast. We can just save these and this and this in both Fahrenheit, in both formats, Fahrenheit and Celsius. So I'm gonna say local time. I'm gonna say conditions. This is our temp C. This is max temp C, max temp F, and this is min temp C, min temp F. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. And we no longer are going to be writing to this data type. Okay, it's going to save us like a quick step. Okay, let's go back and we are executing this call. What do we have? A couple of errors. That's fine. Here we have a code expression that gets the local time. And so this time we're going to choose it right here, local time. This we have, this is our current temp. So this is current temp. So this is gonna depend what the user picks. So current temp C, I'm just gonna do it in, actually, I'm gonna round it off, custom, and this is automatically going to be by default as an integer. We have conditions. Let's get conditions. We have conditions already. And now we're gonna have also this. So if we go over here, we have high, and this is gonna be max temp C, and let's go ahead and round it off, custom by default. And in fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy it and I'll enter it, copy it, and then I'm going to paste this low, so it's gonna be easier. And then I'm gonna come in here, and this is gonna be min temp C, and that's it. That's it. We're done. And let's go ahead and run our app, create a new session, and that should have all the data for us. And there's our app. And as you can see, everything works. We have a high of 22, low of 15, high of 22. So it's almost the same weather. How crazy is that? I had no idea, like Beijing and London have the same weather, at least at this time of the year. Here's the time, here's the time. Looks good. Looks good to me. So we have this working. And so if we let's say we go back to our app and we add another city. So let's say I add, come over here and I add Madrid. It should work as well. And I'm going to add another city. Let's say Lisbon. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. Reload our environment. And now we should have 4 cities. Okay, and there we have it. 26 in Madrid, 23 in Lisbon. Sounds about right. Sunny, partly cloudy. Okay, so now we have 4 cities. But remember, when we set out to build this app, right, as you can see, we wanted to have 2 cities allowed in the free plan, and then 2 plus with an in-app purchase. Okay, so remember we did this. Okay, and so that is exactly what we're gonna do later. But right now, what I want to do is I want to do the detail page. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here and we're gonna go to our detail page. And how does the detail page look? Well, there's gonna be a lot more data. This is kind of how it's gonna look, something like this. Okay, we're gonna have this, and then we're gonna have our forecast, and that's it. I'm just gonna skip hourly just to keep it simple. But let's go ahead and start with this first so that you see. So first, we're gonna get it to pass a parameter, right? So this page is going to start off with a page parameter. I'm just going to make it city. City is a string just to keep things simple. Okay, and this is obviously required. Okay, because we can't have detail without anything. And so this is going to say, we're going to do combine, and this is going to say weather, add text, and then that's the first thing. Now let's go ahead and create it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create this right here. So I'm going to do that as a, I mean, we can do that as a card, right? So this is going to be one card, this potentially another card, and then this is another card, all right? So let's do this card here. So I'm going to say card, and inside the card, we're just going to have a column. And inside the column, just a bunch of, in fact, we don't even need rows, right? We don't even need rows. Well, this one we do, but the first ones we don't. Okay, so this is going to be a bunch of text like this, and you can have it one more below it, one more, and then a row. Or actually, we don't even need a row. We can have one more like this, and then we can just do it combined because it's a very simple one. Okay, and let's go ahead and fix it up. This column, I want it to be centered. So if we want it to be centered, one way to do it would be by creating a row. Okay, because a column, you can only align it like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add like a big row just for alignment. All right, I'm going to add a row, and then I can center the row, and that centers the column. Okay, so now we have this top level. Let's go ahead and give it a bunch of padding from the top, maybe like a 30. And let's start putting in the number. So this is the city. So I'm just going to put Paris just to have things set up. And I don't want a background here, right? So I'm going to kill my background, right? It's on set. Okay, there's no background. It should not have a background. Interesting that this thing has a background. So if I put it red, it makes it red. But if I remove it, it should not have a background. Okay. So we'll see. We'll come back to this. That could be an issue as well, because by default, you see there's, in fact, we can kill a background here, and you see this is the only thing that has the background, because now this doesn't have a background. It's unset. And like this doesn't have a background, just has like whatever. All right, we'll come back to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and fix this. Let's put 18, maybe 20. Let's put 48. Just to format it, to see how it looks. 54, 72. Okay, maybe even more. 84. Okay, that looks better. This is going to be the conditions, weather conditions clear, and this is going to be H, whatever, 56, high 56, low of 47. Okay, so something like this, and we'll get it working. Let's go ahead and give this from the top and bottom. This, so something like this. Maybe this has too much padding. Let's make it 5. This has padding. No, it does not have padding. Okay, so something like this. In fact, I think, yeah, 5 and 5, I think looks better. Okay, so something like this. I think this is fine. Maybe Paris is a little bit bigger. 28. Okay, that looks about right. Even the font, this is, I think it's a very, very similar font. Okay, so this looks good. Let's do the padding on this card. There's no issues. Okay, that looks good. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's add another card there below it. And this card is going to be our 10-day forecast. Okay, something like this. And so let's go ahead and do that. There's going to be a bunch of rows and stuff like that. So let's do a row. And in fact, we can load this data from the API, right? We don't need rows and all this stuff, right? We just need this first row. I'm going to have some text and I'm going to give this card some nice padding, something like this, maybe more, maybe 20. Okay, that's better. And this thing is going to say 10-day forecast or 7-day forecast, 7-day forecast. Okay, and let's go ahead and pad this text a little bit, maybe 5. Okay, that's better. And after that, we can list the elements, right? We can say today, and then we can list all the other ones, okay? Because we get it from the API, right? So if you come over here, we have this forecast API, and let's say I want, under my plan, I'm only allowed 3 days, right? So if I do 3 days, I get my forecast here. And this includes today. This is today. So this is all of these rows. And I don't believe I have access to more than 3 days. Let me see. 7 days. Yeah, I still get 3 days. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's not a problem. So let's go ahead and do that. And so I'm just going to say 3-day forecast. Okay, so my plan does not give me that. So we have this row, and next what we're going to do is I'm going to add another row and we're going to wrap it in a column. And there I'm going to place the other one. So it's going to say today, because this is the first row, right? And in fact, this is going to be inside a list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this inside a list view, and this is going to have all my stuff. So in this list view, it's going to have the forecast stuff, right? So if we go in here, if we do this forecast stuff, right, we do this, I can capture all of this. So what I need to do is forecast this, okay? And let's pass another parameter for the days, right? This days parameter, right? So I'm going to go ahead and come back. We're going to have another parameter, and I'm just going to hard code days as integer. I'm just going to put it to 3, which is the maximum. So if you come over here, it executes it, and we have our 3 days. So now I can capture this forecast day. So let's go ahead and capture it, and that's going to be a list. So this forecast day, it's going to be a list right here. So I'm going to say forecast days. Okay, so now I'm gonna say save. We have that, we have everything. It's automatically to 3. And now what I can do is I can do this list view. I can execute it. I can say, well, this is an API call. We already did the API call. No, we didn't. Well, we didn't do the API call. The API call needs to be done at the top level. Okay, so when we load it, we can execute the API call. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say an API call, and I'm going to say get weather forecast. I'm going to pass in the API key. I'm going to pass in the city. Confirm. So now we execute it. And so now in this list view, we can come over here and we can just get the data, right? So this response, we want this forecast days as a list. And now for each item, forecast day item, we can get the data that we need. So now over here, we can say this is going to be the date. It's going to be the day of the week. Well, the first one is going to be today. And then we can say, let's see, we can say that could be the icon there, by the way. And then we can have high and low. So without graphs, just to keep things simple. So this is going to be the day of the week. So I'm going to go in here, and in fact, we can also do a JSON path. Let me go back here. Let's go ahead and execute this. So you see, this is what we're looking at. One of these items is this one right here. Okay. And so what we want to do is we want to get this date over here, and we want to get the number. So here we don't have this. We don't have conditions. That's fine. we can just display the date, and then we can just display the high low in Celsius or whatever the user chooses. Okay, so the first one, I'm just gonna display the date, and this is gonna be this date over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this JSON path and I'm gonna say date. And in fact, I can, well, yeah, I can convert it to data type, but I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna say date. You see, it's getting it from the API call, from this API call. That's not gonna give us what we want. I don't think. No, that's not gonna give us what we want. That's gonna give us the general temperature. Okay. So what we need to do here is we need to do a we need to do no. This is not correct. This is all wrong. We need to do this one, and then we need to do JSON path, and now we need to get it from that one. Okay, so here it's gonna be day. See, we're parsing this. It's gonna be day dot min temp c. That's what we need to do. Okay, so it's gonna be day. I think like this min temp c. I think that's what we need to do, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. In fact, no, we don't know. We need that. That's not an array. So it's just gonna be this. I think min temp c here, and then let's see if this works correctly. And so this one, yeah, it needs to go of this, and then we need to do a JSON path there, and then max. Okay, so this should work, right? Because we don't care about, you know, the top level stuff. We care about the forecasted stuff. All right, so this should hopefully work. This should hopefully work over here, right? Because if we take a look, right, this is our forecast right here, and that's what we want. So if we go into forecast, we have these objects here. So this is what we want. This is the date, but then we have these days inside. That is kind of what we want. And that is exactly what we're doing. Date, and then day, and then day. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this and make sure this works. Okay, it's a little messy, it's a little complicated, but it's okay. Okay, so we are getting an error, and I'm gonna take a look at why we're getting this error. Now let's take a look at what's happening here. So this is correct, right? So we're looking at this item date, but this is not correct. I'm wondering why. I think it's because of underscore. If I had to guess. Yep. You see, there's an underscore. We're not specifying that. So let's go ahead and put these underscores, and that should hopefully fix it. Max temp underscore C. Is that right? Max temp. Yep, that's right. You have to double check that it's spelled correct. Okay, let's go ahead and reload this. Go ahead and try this. Okay, and there we have it. Now it's showing up correctly. Let's make it all integers. Actually, that's going to be a problem because it doesn't know what the data type is. It doesn't know that that is an integer. And so what we need to do is we need to copy it and we need to pipe it through a code expression. We're going to get an argument. The argument is going to be a double. We're passing in a double, and then we're going to take that and we're going to return an integer. And we're going to say var1. I believe it's parse. Is it? I think it's var1 to int. Yes. Okay. So now we can copy, we can say confirm, and then you can copy all of this and you can use that in the other one. Paste, and you want to make sure that this is max temp now, but it's gonna also get it correct. Okay, so now let's go ahead and refresh this. Okay, click on London. Okay, and now it's correct, right? 14 load 22, this is it. So this all works well, okay? This works pretty well. We need to obviously fix it up a little bit, you know, maybe display a sun and all of that. But for now, this is perfect.
Now, I really hope you guys are enjoying this comprehensive real app tutorial, okay? This should hopefully get you on the right track to building all kinds of amazing apps. Now, if you're serious about no code and you actually want to build real apps, you want to build production-ready apps, and maybe you even want to build fairly complex apps, maybe a lot more complex than the app tutorial you are viewing right now. Well, in that case, the best course of action for you guys is to join our amazing private community by becoming a member of Mastering FlutterFlow. When you join Mastering FlutterFlow, you're gonna get access to up-to-date trainings in the specific order that you need to learn, right? So there's gonna be video modules, you'll be able to ask questions, and most importantly, as part of this training, you're going to get access to our amazing private community, okay? This is our Discord where we ask all kinds of questions, discuss all kinds of things. I am there, our members are there, everybody's there to help out everybody else, okay? And so you're going to get your support, you're going to get your knowledge, and you'll be able to use that to build all kinds of amazing apps. We're always there. We're always ready to help out any way that you can. And also make sure you check out Mastering Supabase, which is my Supabase training. And if you've seen me build all kinds of apps, you know that I love Supabase as the backend of choice to build all kinds of complex, simple, or any app in between. There's really no other backend like Supabase. It makes it super easy to have a generous plan that you can get started with. And it is an industry standard product, right? If you learn Supabase, you can use it in all kinds of situations with all kinds of apps in all kinds of even industries if you want, okay? And so go ahead and check out Mastering Supabase, check out Mastering FlutterFlow, and become a member today.
Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to create a settings functionality, right? So remember, we have this settings page here, and I want to make sure that the Celsius, the user has an ability to change the way that they're going to be seeing these temperatures, right? So the units here, okay? And so for that, we need to store them in an app state, okay? Because we're not using any backend or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a settings here. So I'm just going to say settings temp. Okay, and we are going to be storing it in either Celsius or Fahrenheit. And so I'm just going to keep it as a string, and we can store it as C or F here. Okay, so let's say by default it's stored in C. Okay, so we have it here, and the user can change it. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and now what we need to do is we need to make sure everything kind of reflects what's being stored. Okay, and so the user, if the user changes it here, we need to rebuild certain things, right? So if the user comes here and they change it, it needs to reflect the new values. Okay, so first, let's get this to reflect it correctly. So it says here Celsius, right? And so this is going to depend on whether the setting is Celsius or not, right? So we're going to come here, and here we can have it as a single condition, right? So we're going to go into app state. We have settings temp, and if settings temp is equal to C, then this is going to be true because this is Celsius. Okay, so depending on if it's equal to C, if it's not equal to C, this is going to be false, so it's not going to be Celsius, right? So very, very straightforward. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, and another thing that we need to do is we need to control, we need to react when the user changes, right? So if we go back here, we have our flows here, and so on toggled on, right? So if they toggle it on, we are going to be setting it to Celsius. Okay, so I'm going to have an action. Let's go ahead and go get this app state. We're going to set this to a value. This is going to be C, right? Because when they toggle it on, they're setting it to Celsius. We're going to be setting it to C. I'm going to copy this. And what we can do here is we can rebuild all pages. Okay, because this is a setting. And the other thing that we can do is when it's toggled off, I'm going to paste it here. We're going to set this to F. Okay, rebuild all pages. That's fine. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run this app. And before we do that, we need to add a Nav Bar, right? Because we have no way to get to this page here. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to enable a Nav Bar, and I'm going to enable it just on the home page as a Nav Bar, and then on settings. That's it. That's all we need to do, because on the detail page can be gotten from the home page. All right, so that is what we have. Let's go ahead and run our app and see what happens. Let's go ahead and start a new session here and see what it looks like. All right, so here's our app. You can see we have all this data in real time, right? London, Beijing, very, very similar weather. Who would have known? Okay, so we click here, and now as you can see, it is set to Celsius because by default, you know, settings is set to C. This is set to Celsius. Now, if we come over here, we change it, and this is automatically changed to F. We come over here, it should be changed to C. Okay, so this works over here. So because it automatically rebuilds the other pages, what we can do is we need to take into account and get the other values. Okay, so let's go back and take a look on this home page over here and see what we can do here. Okay, so for instance, this temp here, this now needs to be a different one depending on the parameter. And because these pages are going to be automatically rebuilt, we don't have to worry about rebuilding them. That's kind of the beauty with Flutter and FlutterFlow. All we need to do is is display them dynamically. And so here what we can do, well, there's a couple of things that we can do. We can create an if condition inside here, or we can just create a, we can create an if condition, kind of an if widget, right? This one, this conditional builder here if you want. So it's up to you, but I think an easier one, a simpler one, because these are all going to be text widgets, I think the simpler approach here is going to be just changing this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a conditional value. Okay, so if app state is set to C, if app state is equal to C, we are going to do the default, right? So I'm going to go ahead and paste this. Otherwise, I'm going to paste that and I'm going to change this to current temp F. That's it, confirm. Okay, so now this main one is changed. Okay, and if we click here, let me see this one, right? So we changed this one. Now we just need to change these two values. Okay, everything else stays the same. Okay, so same thing here. We have a text combo. So we have this thing here, right? Max temp C, that will become something else. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to click here. I'm going to go into the conditional value. And here, well, first I'm going to paste it, because the default is Celsius. Come back over here where I'm going to create the condition. So the condition is setting is equal to C. Okay, and then I'm going to paste the other condition. Max temp F. That is done. And here I'm going to copy all of this because we're going to be reusing it here. And here I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to change this for min, right? Yeah. First is max, then it's min. So here's min C, and here is min F. All right, so we are done here. Let's go ahead and test it out. Let's make sure it works. Okay, our approach. Always be testing. Let's go ahead and reload this. All right, so by default, we're getting Celsius, okay, because our settings is in Celsius. So if I go over here, this is in Celsius. Let's go ahead and change it. So this is in Fahrenheit. If we come back over here, this has been updated. So all of these are updated except high. Did I make a mistake? Let's go ahead and take a look. Celsius. Okay. We forgot to press confirm. Okay, we copied it, but we forgot to press confirm. As you can see, this is not conditional. So I'm going to copy this because when you copy it, it closes the dialog box. It doesn't save it. So it's a quick gotcha. So I'm going to paste it here and I'm going to pull them up. So this is max is this, yeah, it's going to be max temp C, and this is going to be max temp F. Confirm. Okay, let's go ahead and reload it and it should work. All right, so here we are. Come back over here, change this to F, come back here, and it automatically rebuilds it. So all of these are an F. Okay, and this is an F. All right, there we go. Okay, so the only thing that's left to do is the same thing on this page here, right? The detail page. So I'm gonna go over here to our detail page and I'm gonna do the same thing. So we need to, what do we need to do? Let's come back and look over here. So we need to change this main one and high and low. And also these ones there, right? So 3 points, 1, 2, and these ones, high and low here. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So here, I'm just going to paste it. And before I do that, well, in fact, I think a better one would be to copy it first. And let's do our conditions. If conditional, let's get our settings equals to C, then we can just paste it. Current temp, and here we're gonna paste it, but we need to change it. This needs to be current temp F. Okay, so it works a lot better when you when you first copy it, right? It works a lot better. Okay, so the problem here is that we can't see the other items because now this is too long. So what we can do is we can expand it and get to these ones, right? So we have conditions that's the same. We have high and low. I'm going to go ahead and copy that first. Copy it. And I'm going to change that to an if conditional settings equals to paste that. And this is going to go into max temp F. Confirm. And then the same thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it. I'm going to change it to if. We're going to go into settings equals to C, we're gonna paste it. Yes, min temp C, and this is gonna be min temp S. Okay, so this is now changed. Let's do the same thing here. So this is a code expression that gets min temp C here. So this whole thing needs to become a conditional now. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy it, change it, conditional settings equal to, and then paste this one. And this is going to be F. And in fact, I can just copy this. Well, I need to press confirm because it's not going to save it. Once I press confirm, I can come back, copy it, confirm, and then what I can do is I can do the same thing here. And here we're going to paste, and this is going to be max temp C. No, yes, max temp C, and this is max confirm, confirm. And we should be good to go. Okay, let's go ahead and try this out. All right, so now by default is in Celsius. We come back over here. We change it to Fahrenheit. This rebuilds, and now if you click on any one of these, it's all in Fahrenheit, right? 70 degrees in Fahrenheit. Low, low, high, right? See, it's reversed. High, low, low, high. Okay, and these are the values. So now we have that. Let me go ahead and add a back button here. Let's come in here to our detail, and I want to add a back button, and I can do that with this default button. Okay, and that should work. Let's go ahead and reload this. All right, here we are, and now we have this back button. Right, we can go back, we see everything, and we can test it out again. Fahrenheit, this switches to Fahrenheit. Come back here, everything is in Fahrenheit. It's all in Fahrenheit. Okay, so this works really, really well. And the only thing that's left to do is to do this in-app purchasing ability, right? So that you can add more items, you can see more items, you can add that extra functionality. And we're going to be doing that next. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be working on is in-app purchase, okay? And with in-app purchase, you have a couple of options, okay? You can do this all by hand, everything, right? You can do everything by hand if you want, or there is an easier option. You can use a tool called RevenueCat that you can find at RevenueCat.com. That's going to make your process a lot easier. Now, this video is not sponsored by RevenueCat. This is just a tool that I learn through my subscribers, through my viewers, through my Patreon supporters. And this is an amazing tool, right? Because it allows you to easily, have your app, set up with these in-app purchase options. And it's really nice, right? So if you go to solutions and you click on why RevenueCat, you're going to be seeing a lot of these benefits. And honestly, if you click on pricing, you can see that if you're making less than 2.5K in monthly tracked revenue, right, you're going to be getting RevenueCat for absolutely free. It's only after you're, making 2,500 or more in monthly tracked revenue, you'll have to pay 1% of the revenue. Okay, but then there's a bunch of other plans, but still, this is a very, very generous free tier, right? Because to get up to 2.5K of monthly revenue, you will have to have a fairly successful product, right? This is just from my experience, right? And so you might create a bunch of products, but if one of them gets to 2.5K in monthly track revenue, that is only when you'll need to pay, right? Before that, you don't have to worry about it. And this is an amazing tool. You can read more about it here. And why RevenueCat, lots of amazing features. Even though this video is not sponsored by RevenueCat, I don't, they don't know I'm even making this video, right? They're not even aware of that. I definitely recommend it. I definitely highly recommend it that you guys try it out because it's just going to make the whole process a lot easier. And so what you can do is you can sign up for a free account and you can log in. So I already have an account. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my account. And as you can see, once I log in, I already have a bunch of things happening. And that is because I've used it for a bunch of other projects that I've shown you guys via other YouTube videos. But what we're going to do here is we're going to start from scratch. We're going to create a brand new project. So if you click on project, as you can see, I already have a project. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new project. And I'm just going to call it Weather Pro App. Okay. I'm going to say create new project. And now we have this project here. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to add an app, right? You need to define a payment provider. Okay. So maybe you're making an iOS app. Or perhaps you're making a Google Play Store, Amazon Store, a bunch of other things. In this example, we're going to be focusing on the App Store, on the Apple's App Store. So we're going to click here and we're going to fill all of this out, right? So the app name is Weather Pro. Okay, the bundle ID. So let's go ahead and find our bundle ID. So if we go back to our app and you search for details, you're going to find this bundle ID, right? So we're going to go ahead and copy this. In fact, I'm going to change this. I'm going to say James NoCode because I own the domain James NoCode.com. And so that is how typically they follow, right? Your package name or the bundle ID, that's what you need to you need a convention. Now, you do not need to own the domain, right? So if you don't own the domain, you can just call it whatever you want, right? It's just I own the domain. And so it's natural for me to kind of follow this convention. Okay, so I'm just going to copy all of this. Our app is actually called Weather App IA. And so I'm going to copy all of this here, and I'm going to go back to RevenueCat. I'm going to paste this here. Okay, this needs to match. It's very, very important. Now, if we hit Save Changes, we're missing a bunch of parameters, right? So we need this and we need this. Now, this here, this is App Store Connect app-specific shared secret. Okay, and so what this means is that you need to go into App Store Connect and you need to create an app there, right? So if you click here, you can see some instructions, right? So it says here, log into App Store Connect, navigate to my apps, etc., etc. So I'm going to go into App Store Connect, and I'm going to go ahead and log in first. And here I am inside of App Store Connect. I'm going to go into apps, and here you need to create an app, right? So you can go over here and you can just click on New App, okay? So I already have created an app, okay, for this project. So we're going to go into this app right here. And what does it say to do? App information under general, right? We're going to go to app information here. And what else does it say? Let's go back. It says select manage under app specific share sheet. Okay, so we're going to go and find this. Let's go ahead and find this. So it says here app specific shared sheet. We're going to click manage. And I already have a shared secret, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit regenerate. And it regenerates it for me, right? And so what we need to do here is it says manage, and we need to copy the shared secret. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy the shared secret, and I'm going to go back into RevenueCat. We're going to go in here, and I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to say set secret, and I'm going to paste this secret here, and I'm going to hit set. Okay, that is the first thing. The next thing that we need to do is configure this part here. So it says here, required for most accurate pricing and country-specific data for your App Store transactions. Okay, so we can click on Learn More, and it's going to tell you how to do it. So here, what we need to do, in-app purchase keys are generated in App Store Connect under Users and Access, Integrations, and in-app purchase. Okay, so let's go back to App Store Connect. Let's leave this. Let's click on Users and Access, and let's click on Integrations here. Okay, once we select this, let's go back and let's see what it's telling us here. This is the page, and we need to go into in-app purchase, and we need to get the key over there. So I'm going to go back here, in-app purchase. I already have the key, right? So I used this app for another project. And so what I can do here is I can create another key. So for instance, let's go ahead and create another key. I'm just going to call it key 2. I'm going to hit generate, and now I can download it here. Okay, so if I click download, it's telling me that individual in-app purchase keys can be downloaded only once. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and download it. That is why I can't download it for the first key here. Okay, so once I've downloaded, I'm going to go back here to RevenueCat, and I'm going to drag and drop it here. Okay, so there's the key right there. And now I need to also paste my issuer ID, right? So I'm going to go back, and we have this issuer ID. I'm going to copy it, go back here and paste it in here. Okay, and so now I'm going to click on Save Changes, app created successfully. And it's telling me that credentials need attention, right? So if I refresh that, it's telling me. So it looks like I'm missing something. The uploaded key or bundle is not correct or does not provide permissions for your apps, okay? And the reason for that is I have a different bundle in this app, right? Because I created it for another project. So let's go ahead and reuse the same bundle. So I'm going to go back into my apps. I'm going to click on my app. I'm going to go into app information. And I'm going to go ahead and see my bundle. So as you can see, this is the bundle right here. right? This is the bundle right here. Com.James NoCode, just weather app. That is the bundle that I have configured. So, and the reason for that is I created this before the app because I used it for a couple of other projects. Because when you are creating your app for the first time, you'll be able to specify the bundle. So let's go ahead and just reuse this bundle here just to simplify things, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. It's almost the same thing. We're going to hit save changes. Okay, we're going to refresh this, and now it's telling us valid credentials. Okay, so now we're in business. So what are these keys, right? So it says here, required for most accurate pricing and country-specific data, right? After uploading this key, you may see updates to your historical data. So this is required, right? This is required, this is required, and this is also required, right? Because it needs a way to connect to your App Store Connect, okay? So now that we've configured the app here, the next thing that we can do is we can go into General, and we can look at our project ID. We can also delete this project. We can go into API keys. And here we can get this API key that we're going to be using inside of FlutterFlow in order to connect to RevenueCat and do all of these in-app purchase things. We also have all of these things, but the most important thing after setting up your app is this thing, product catalog, because that is where you're going to be configuring different things. Okay, so the first thing that you want to configure is the products. So we're going to go into products and we need to configure a product. Okay, so what is a product? Well, a product is an individual in a purchase you set up on the store platform. So like, for instance, if I go into new and I click here, I can create a product, right? So we have the identifier, we have the display name, and a product is essentially a subscription, right? So if I go into App Store Connect, and this is where I need to create them, right? We're not going to be creating them in RevenueCat. We're going to be creating them in App Store Connect. And I go into, I can go into in-app purchases, but I don't have anything here. I can do it here. I can also go into subscriptions. Now with subscriptions, I already created a subscription group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the subscription group, right? So that we can start from scratch, okay? And so if I go into subscriptions, I can create a subscription group first, which is where everything starts, right? And it says here, a subscription is a product that allows users to purchase dynamic content for a set period. This type of subscription renews automatically unless canceled by the user, okay? And it says here, all subscriptions must be part of a group. Users can only subscribe to one subscription in a group at a time, but can change to another subscription in the same group, okay? So we're going to hit create, and we're going to call this subscription something like Weather Pro Premium. Okay, we're going to click create, and that is the subscription. That is what they're subscribing to. Okay, now inside the subscription group, in fact, I may want to edit this real quick so that it's all capitalized. Inside of the subscription group, I need to create the subscription. So I'm going to click here, and I want to create a subscription. So the reference name is what the user is going to see, right? We'll be using App Store Connect. And this is, will be used in Connect and Sales and Trends reports, right? So you want to give this a name. So let's say we want to create a yearly plan. So Weather Pro, okay? And the product ID, this is something that you need to create like a unique identifier. So if you click here, you can see a unique alphanumeric ID that is used for reporting. Okay, so this is important because this is what we're going to be referencing inside of RevenueCat, right? So if you go back here, we have this identifier, okay? So let's go ahead and create a product ID. So let's say our yearly subscription is going to cost $39.99, and we're going to have a 1-week trial, okay, for free. So I'm going to say yearly $39.99, and then I'm going to say 1 week 0. So you can follow something like this. So that way you know exactly what this is all about. Or you can also start with 1 week trial, but I like to start with the actual subscription, right? Because that way I have an idea if it's yearly, monthly, etc. So we're going to call this, I'm going to say create. And once we have created it, we're going to be redirected to the screen here. And this is where you need to kind of configure this subscription, right? So we have the reference name here. We have the product ID here. Now we need to select the duration. So what is the duration? Duration is 1 year. And once we do that, we can specify availability. So I'm going to set up my availability, and we're going to do all of these. I'm going to say done. Okay, it's going to be available everywhere. Next, you want to do your subscription prices, right? Set up a starting subscription price. So we're going to click here, and what is the price? Well, it's going to be $39.99, right? That is the price that we set, and it automatically creates the prices for the other countries, right? We automatically calculated prices for all countries or regions based on $39.99 USD. So you can change these, but you know, Apple probably knows what it's doing, right? Because of different exchange rates and all of these things, right? Look at Canada is $49.99, right? Because Canadian dollar is a little bit cheaper. It's not 1-to-1. So we're going to hit next. And you want to confirm? I'm going to say confirm. Okay, so it's saving that right now. And now we have the subscription prices here. Now you want to hit save here because we've done a lot of changes here. Okay, we've saved successfully. And now what we can do, we can click here and we can create an introductory offer. Okay, so remember, we have a yearly subscription, but we have a 1-week free trial. So I'm going to click here. We're going to select all the countries, hit next. And here, I'm going to select today. I'm going to select today. And end date, I'm going to say no end date. Now, this is an introductory offer end date. It's not like a week trial, right? It's just the effective starting date. That is what you want to select. We're going to hit next. We're going to say free, and then we're going to select the duration 1 week. Free for the first week. Okay, so just confirm that it's still for all the countries that we've selected previously. We're gonna save this, and now we have an introductory offer. Okay, so we have the subscription pricing here, right, for all of them, right? And we have an introductory offer for this specific subscription, right? So if you go back to our yearly, remember all of this is the yearly subscription, right? You can click here and you can see that we have the subscription here, right? You can see all the pricing here. And we also have an introductory offer. Now you can also have offer codes. You can have a promotional offer, for a specific promotion that you have. You can have offer codes as well, right? You can come over here. You can have a reference. You can set them up here. Maybe you want to give it to a couple of friends to test that subscription. But at this point, we are done. So I'm going to go back here. And what I want to do is I'm going to copy this product ID. We're going to go back to RevenueCat. And I'm going to paste it here. And here I'm going to give a display name. Okay. And this is our yearly subscription. And I'm going to click on create product. Okay. And so now we've created our product, one subscription. Okay. But we're not done yet, right? Now, RevenueCat does not work with products directly. It works with something called entitlements, right? And essentially, an entitlement is just a bunch of products linked together, right? So if I view this product here, you see there's no entitlements, right? And that's bad. And so what we're going to do is we're going to jump here and we're going to create a new entitlement. And what is an entitlement? Well, an entitlement is something that the user is trying to purchase, right? They're trying to get access to a premium feature or features that will in turn be made up of various subscriptions, right? So I'm going to say Pro. I'm just going to call it Pro, or in fact, I'm just going to say Weather Pro, okay? Something like this. And the description is Pro access to all features, okay? We're going to add this right here. And now we have an entitlement. Now we have 0 products, which is bad because if the user buys this, they're not going to have access to anything. We're going to click here and we're going to attach a product to this entitlement. Very important because the user is not buying a product. They're purchasing an entitlement. They're trying to get access to something. And in this case, they're going to get access to this yearly subscription. Now, if we have like a monthly subscription or a 6-month subscription or a weekly plan, etc., all of these would be part of this entitlement. Okay. But in this case, we only have a yearly subscription, which is fine. And last but not least, we also have offers, right? So offerings. Offerings are the selection of products that are offered to a customer and you paywall. They're an optional, but a recommended feature of RevenueCat that make it easier to change and experiment with your paywalls, right? So what an offer is basically a bunch of packages, a bunch of products that you can display to a user dynamic, right? So you might have like a summer offer with some discounts, a bunch of these products. A winter offer, a holiday offer, a Christmas offer, etc. You can do it however you want. So we're going to create a default offer, right? I'm going to say this is our, summer sale. And I'm going to say this is our summer offer, okay? and I'm going to hit save. Now I'm going to click here and I need to add a package. So I'm going to say new, and I'm going to go to my identifier here, and this is going to be our annual. And I'm going to say that this is a yearly, okay? We're creating a new package, and this package needs to have a product, okay? So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and I'm going to attach my product to that package, which is in turn a part of an offering, right? So let's do this from the beginning. We have an offering called Summer Sale. That offering has one package, and the package is really a link to a product that we've defined here, and that is linked to the App Store, right? So if we click over here, we have this annual here. It's a yearly subscription, which is one product, this product here, okay? So at this point, we are done, right? We are 100% done, okay? So we can simply go over here and we can get the key and we can start using RevenueCat in our app, right? Because we have completely configured it here. All right, so now that we have finished setting up RevenueCat, the next thing that we need to do is we need to integrate RevenueCat directly with our app here. Okay, we're not going to be dealing with the platforms directly. Remember, we're going to be using RevenueCat to help us act as a middleman, to get the data, to get the offers, to deal with purchasing, to act as a really nice kind of layer between our app and App Store Connect or some of the other platforms like Google Play, etc., etc. And so at this point, we need a way to connect with RevenueCat. And there are a couple of ways of doing it, right? So if you search for the RevenueCat SDK, which stands for Software Development Kit, and you click on Flutter, which is essentially what we have, you can learn more about this, right? And RevenueCat uses something called Purchases Flutter. This is a pub dev package, okay? And so you can kind of learn more about it. You have all of these things, identify user, displaying products, all of these things that you can use. And all you need to do is click on Flutter and you can see all of that, right? So if you head over to pub.dev, you can see this plugin here called Purchases Flutter. This is RevenueCat's Flutter plugin. Very, very easy to use, very, very robust, very powerful. You can kind of learn more about it. But I actually went ahead and created the right kind of code snippets that we can use. Okay, so we're gonna go back into our Flutter app and we're gonna create the right code snippets. Okay, because specifically we only need three custom actions, right? Three things to to build our app right now, right? The first thing that we need is we need a way to determine whether the user has access to this premium data, premium content. Okay. The second thing is if they don't have access, we need to display the list of different products. Remember, this entitlement, right? So when we configure this entitlement, we only have this one entitlement, right? So we're going to be checking if the users have access to this entitlement, but the actual packages, the products, there could be multiple of them, right? Like a day trial, a week trial, a month trial, a yearly trial, a subscription, a one-time purchase, etc., etc. So in our case, we only have one. We only have a yearly subscription. We can add more if you want, but right now we just have a yearly subscription, okay? And so we need a way to display that. We need a way to display the possible products that the person can purchase in order to get this entitlement, which is going to unlock the premium content, the pro access to all the features. And last but not least, we need a way for them to purchase. So they select something, they can click the button, they can purchase it, and that's going to trigger the whole flow where they can get confirmed that they will be confirmed by Apple. They're going to see that familiar dialog box and all that. And once they purchase, RevenueCat is going to get notified. They're going to get access to everything, right? Because RevenueCat is going to let us, our app know as well. Okay. So let's go back into our app and let's go ahead and create these custom actions so that we can use them very, very flexibly and dynamically inside of our app. Okay. Now, the first custom action that we need to do is a custom action that's going to connect to RevenueCat. So we're going to go over here. We're going to say custom action, and we are going to call this to RC. connect to RevenueCat. We're going to do this over here, copy to editor. It's going to give us boilerplate. And I have this custom action prepared, right? So if I go over here, I have this thing here. This is this right here. Okay. And all my Patreon subscribers are amazing. My amazing Patreon subscribers. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for supporting this channel. You're going to get access to this entire app, all these code snippets. And this is very, very easy way to kind of get started, right? Because it's just the easiest way I can think of. Okay, so if you want to get access to all of this, you want to get extra content, definitely check out our amazing Patreon community via the first link in the description. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to paste all of this here. Now, to make this work, I need to go back here and I need to copy this, come back here and I need to add a dependency. Okay, this is the purchasing Flutter dependency. So I can get this plugin so I can use it. And also I need to make sure that I use it correctly, right? So if we go to our, RevenueCat examples, actually, if you go to Magic Weather and you go to like lib, you don't have to do that, but I just want to show you, you need this thing here. You need this import here, right? So if I go back here, I can just paste it below the code. And that's all we need to do. Now this thing, we need to paste the API key that RevenueCat is going to give us, right? So we're going to go in here, API keys, and we're going to select the app here inside of our project because we can have multiple apps, right? An Android app, an Amazon app, etc. I'm going to copy this, go back here and paste it here. Okay, now we've pasted it. I think I pasted it here by accident. Let me go ahead and fix that. Go back to RevenueCat, copy this. Let's go ahead and fix that, paste that in here. Okay. And so now our key is configured. And so what this is going to do is this is going to connect to RevenueCat using this key. So RevenueCat is going to know what app that we're dealing with. Now for this, it's very important that you go over here to custom files and you add it as a final action, or you can even add it as an initial action, in fact. So why don't we just add it as an initial action? You're going to click here and that's it. And that right there is going to connect to it, right? So this is very, very important. Okay, you want to hit save. Okay, so we have the first custom action. Okay, now we need the other three, right? Because this one doesn't count. This essentially connects to RevenueCat. This doesn't count, right? We need the other three. And I have these prepared for you guys here. So the first one is this check entitlement, right? So we need to check if the user has access to the content, right? And we can also execute this right away, right? So when the app loads, we can execute this because we need to know, where we are. We need to know where the user is. Does the user have access to this special stuff or not? So this is very, very important. So I'm going to make this actually part of this, right? I'm going to make this part of this. Okay. So in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all this and I'm just going to make it part of this. So we're going to connect to RevenueCat here and we're going to check our entitlements. Okay. And so here I have this flag here, right here. This thing is going to check it. So what is the entitlement, right? So remember, our entitlement is pro. Right? I think it's called Pro. So if I go back to RevenueCat here, you go into entitlement. It's Weather Pro, right? I can just copy it, go back here, and we have Weather Pro. So that is kind of what we have here. And you can make this an argument as well if you want. You can make it as an argument. Okay. And so here I'm going to put Weather Pro here. And this has entitlement that needs to be part of the state of the app. Okay. And so for that, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say purchase, and this is going to be a boolean, and I'm going to say create, and by default is false. So we're going to assume the user has not purchased the premium. So we're going to go back here, here, and what we're going to do is we are going to set it as part of the app state. And you can easily do that like this, app state here, and you're going to say purchase. You see it's right there. Okay. So we're automatically going to be setting this variable according to what RevenueCat tells us. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Okay, and in fact, we're not getting any offerings here, so we can just comment that out. That's fine. That's all we need to do. Connect to RevenueCat and get customer info, and then see if they have this entitlement. Okay, because we can have various entitlement. The customer can have, we can be selling various things. And I'm going to hit this to compile, and it should compile. Okay, in fact, I don't need to wait for this. I can create other custom actions. So the next custom action that we need to create is a custom action that will list the various products, the various things that the user can purchase, the various packages. And so I'm going to say get offers, right? Because if I go in here, I have this custom action called show offerings. In fact, offerings, right? So we can say something like get offerings. Okay, so we're gonna click here, copy to editor, get our boilerplate. In fact, we're gonna just paste this widget that I have here, right? So this does not return anything, so we can delete this. We can delete that because we've pasted it inside. And I'm going to go ahead and format it. And I also need to give this public spec, it's already there. And I also need to make sure that we have this thing right here. This needs to come after begin custom action code. It needs to come after. You cannot put it here. So I'm going to go ahead and here, paste this here. And now this is going to get our offerings. Okay. So in this case, it's only going to print the offerings here, right? But what we may want to do is we may want to return a list of offers, right? We may want to return a list of offers. And so we can go to our SDK, and here it says get offerings, right? So right here, you can check for what are the offerings. Okay, so you can get an idea. And so you can scroll down, you can see all of this right here. Well, this is what the offerings that we have. These are the offerings. And in our case, what do we have? What offerings that we specify? Just the yearly, right? Offerings, just this summer sale. That's all we have, okay? So we're gonna go back here and we're just gonna give them this offer. And this offer has this one package in there, okay? So let's go back here. Let's go over here. And what we can do is we can simply return, right? So as you can see, it's a list of packages. We are returning a list of packages. And if you wanna learn more about what a package is, we can simply, list the specific fields like the name of the package and the price, and we can return an array. And so I'm going to add this right here. I'm going to say no, not here. I'm going to say here, and I'm going to say we are returning a list of strings. Okay, and here I need to make sure that I've set it up correctly. List string. And so now I hit save. It does not complain because it knows that I'm returning a list of strings. So what strings am I going to be returning? Well, this available packages is a list of packages, okay? And so what we can do, we can return this directly, right? So if we have actually offerings here, we can potentially do something like this. Return all of this right here, like this. Okay, I'm gonna remove all of that, and this is going to return an empty list. So let's go ahead and press save, and that's going to return the packages, list packages. Okay, and this packages is probably a string, right? It should work with a string, a list of strings. So let's go ahead and compile this. And in fact, what we can do is we can remove all this. This is a much better way, and just return an empty list. Okay, because if this is false, and regardless, if this is not true, just return an empty list. I'm gonna hit save, and we're gonna compile it. Okay, it should have no problems. And last but not least, we have to add another snippet that will deal with purchasing. Right, so it says here purchase product, and we can pass the product ID. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna take all of this, and I'm gonna add another snippet. Okay, this is another action over here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to call it like this, generate our boilerplate, and I'm going to insert it below, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to make sure that we have the same stuff here. So this thing has this string product ID because we need to pass the parameter, and then I can just delete this, fix that, and now we have a new custom action, and we need to save this. Parameters don't match. You press yes, it generates it. And we also need to come over here, copy this, paste it over here. Remember, we're still using RevenueCat. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that if they purchase this Pro, we need to set that app state variable. Remember that variable purchased premium to true, because now they've purchased it, right? So it was false. This is where they're going to be purchasing it. And once they've purchased it, remember, this is a this right here is an app state variable. So when it's updated, it will automatically rebuild everything, and we can actually force a rebuild, right? You can do something like this. That's a little trick I want to show you. if you click here, you can actually force a rebuild, right? You can actually go over here and you can do something called notify, okay? And so that is a little trick that you can do. And what it's doing is once we modify this, we want to rebuild the other things, because in FlutterFlow, when you're doing it inside of FlutterFlow, it does it for you. But here it doesn't do it for you. So we're going to be doing it here. We're going to hit save. And now all we need to do is pass the product ID of the item that the person wants to purchase. Okay? So let's go ahead and compile this. Hopefully there are no issues. All right, so now the next thing that we want to do is you want to test out this app. And it's a lot better to test this app out in a simulator, okay? Because we're using RevenueCat, we're using a bunch of very kind of unique libraries that they're a lot better to be tested in a simulator. And so at this point, I'm going to click here and I'm going to wait for this to load. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to execute this command in my terminal. So here I am inside my terminal. I'm going to paste this command and I'm going to execute. And what that's going to do is it's going to go ahead and download this entire project inside or in my computer, into my computer. And so now I can go over here to my app here and I can run it from my my computer itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open it up in Visual Studio Code, because from Visual Studio Code I can actually very easily run it in my simulator here. Okay, so I have it open in Visual Studio Code. I'm not seeing any errors, right? Nothing is red here. Next, I can click here and I can select a iOS simulator, right? I can open this up and that's going to go ahead and load an iPhone 15 Pro Max simulator. So we're going to wait for this to load. Okay, now it's right here. Next, I'm going to go to run and I'm going to go ahead and run this app in this simulator and let's see what happens. All right, so when we run our app, this is what we see. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring this here. And this is exactly what it was, right? So it works nicely. And if we come over here, you can switch this to Fahrenheit and it works. We can click here. So everything loads, everything compiles. That means that our integration with RevenueCat works, right? Everything that we've done so far, there are no major issues. Okay, so now we can continue. We can start working with RevenueCat integration more tightly, right? Getting these features in and limiting this and putting in the paywalls and things like that. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to do a quick test. I want to add a button that when you click it, you're going to get a list of your offerings so that you can see that everything works as expected. So we're going to add this button on this homepage here. I'm going to click here and I'm going to add a button. Okay, all the way here. Then I'm going to click here and I'm going to add an action. So the action is going to be a custom action, get offerings, and this outputs, right? So I'm going to say out offerings and I'm going to add another action. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to add another action, maybe to do a kind of an information dialog, right? So I'm going to just display one of the offerings. I'm going to say offerings and I'm going to come in here, action outputs. Now this is a list of offerings. So we're just going to display one of them, which is fine. Confirm. Okay, so now we have this button that should display a dialog box with the first offering. So we're gonna come here and we're gonna do the same process. We're gonna re-download the app here and rebuild it. So I'm gonna come back here and I'm going to re-download, re-execute that command. That's going to fetch my app and I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna reload this window, run this so that we get all our packages. All right, so now we have this app here and I can run this app in a simulator, okay? So I can select the simulator here. I can start it off and I'm going to wait for it to load. Okay, here's our simulator. And so what I can do is I can go to run and I can simply run it. Okay, and that's going to compile it for iOS, right? And run it in a simulator. Okay, so I'm going to wait for this a couple of moments and my app should start out now. It should start off now. All right, so now our app is starting up and this is our app. And we also have this button here that is supposed to list the various offerings, or at least display the first offering. So I'm going to go ahead and execute it. And when I execute, it says no element. And if we take a look at our logs here, it says here, there is an issue with your configuration. Check the underlying error and it's telling us none of the products registered in RevenueCat dashboard could be fetched from App Store Connect or StoreKit config file. Okay, so what's happening here is the following, right? So if we go to our RevenueCat, right? Remember, we've configured the products here, right? So this product here, this product is exactly what should be in App Store. But the problem is, if we take a look at RevenueCat documentation, you're going to see that you can't get to App Store Connect unless you've signed the app and you're testing on a real device. Okay. And so because we want to test on a simulator, right? Maybe you don't have a real device and you want to test on a simulator. The option that we have is, instead of using App Store Connect, so instead of RevenueCat connecting to all of this, what we can do is, just like the message says, right? So just like it tells us right here, we can create a StoreKit config file here. Okay. And that will allow us to use this file instead of connecting to App Store Connect, which is something that we can do with the simulator without signing and all of this. So it's a lot easier to use this StoreKit config file, okay? So the next thing that we need to do is we need to open our app in Xcode, right? So remember, with Flutter, you are generating different apps for different platforms. So if you take a look at my app, which I downloaded from FlutterFlow, you can see that we have an Android directory, we have an iOS directory, we have a web directory, and that is because that is what we have specified. We can also have a macOS version, a Windows version, etc., etc. You can do it on multiple platforms. You can also do like a Linux version as well, if that's what you want to do. And so what we need to do is we need to open the iOS version, and we need to do a couple of iOS specific configurations in order to test it on a simulator with everything working, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type /runner.exe workspace. If you open that, if you run that, that's going to go ahead and open your app in Xcode. And so this opens up our app, right? So as you can see, we can target iPhone, iPad, Mac. We can do all of this. We have our bundle identifier. We can change. We can select the app category. We can do a lot of amazing things here because this is purely for iOS. This is purely the Apple platform, okay? And so the next thing we need to do is we need to set up a special StoreKit file, which is going to allow us everything back to back without dealing with App Store Connect. So I'm going to go into File, I'm going to go into New, I'm going to do File from Template, and I'm going to type Store. You're going to have this selected. You want to click on Next, and you want to give this file a name. So I'm just gonna have it called the same name that my app has. Okay, so Weather Pro. You want to deselect this, click on Next, and you want to make sure that your only target, you should have only one target, is selected. Very, very important. You want to click Create. Okay, so now you have this file here, and you can add in-app purchases, subscription, stuff like that. So we're gonna click here, and we're going to select this auto renewable subscription, which is exactly what we did before, directly in App Store Connect. So here we need to create the group. So remember, we did that before, except now we're doing it locally in a file. Okay, just to make the whole testing a lot easier. So I'm going to call this Weather Pro Premium package. And now we need to create our new subscription. So the reference name and the product ID. The reference name need to be something readable. So let's say we're creating a yearly subscription. I'm going to say yearly plan. And the product ID, well, this needs to match up with what you have in RevenueCat. So we're going to jump back to RevenueCat, and I'm going to copy this, paste it here, hit done. And now it opens up all of this. So we have the subscription here. We can also create an offer type. So let's say we want to do free 1 week. Okay, so this is exactly what we did in App Store Connect, except we're doing it locally so that it's a lot easier to test. You have also offer codes, promotional offers, win-back offers, etc., etc. Now, another important thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you fill one of these in. So you have these localizations, and you have English US set. So you want to double click here, and you want to fill both of these in. So especially display name, because that is what the user is going to see when you ask them to sign up. So we're going to say yearly plan, and description, I'm just going to make it the same. And one thing I realized is I didn't set the price here. So this should be $39.99, not 99 cents, and free 1 week trial. Okay, so at this point, we have a file set up, and it's going to be for this target, which is our app. There's one more thing that you want to do. You want to click on product, you want to go down to scheme, and you want to click on edit scheme. Okay, when you do that, you're going to have this selected, and you want to click here and you want to select this file that we just configured. Because if you don't select it, then you know everything is in vain, right? Everything was done for nothing, right? So you want to select it, hit close. Okay, so at this point, you have an app, an iOS app that you built in FlutterFlow that has this special config file done. Okay, so at this point, what we can do is we can actually run it. So you can go to product and you can hit, you can select this, or you can just do Command R on a Mac or Control R on, well, this is only for Mac, so it's always going to become Command R. So we're going to come in here, we're going to run it. Okay, so our app is going to be building and it should successfully run, and hopefully there should be no issues. Okay, so as you can see, it's building, almost done. Take a look here. You have your status here. Okay, build succeeded. Now it's going to start our app in a simulator. Okay, we have the simulator chosen here. It's attaching to a simulator, and this is our simulator, so starting our app. And so here's our app, and down below you're going to be seeing some logging information that is going to be very, very useful if something doesn't work. Okay, so let's go ahead and click here. It loads up our forecast. Let's go ahead and test it out, right? Because if everything works here, you're guaranteed that it's going to work on a real device. So we're going to deselect Celsius, come back here. Now it's all in Fahrenheit. Click here, it's all in Fahrenheit. All right, so all of this works. Now the moment of truth. And at this point, it says here no element. But if we scroll and look at the logs here, it's actually finding the product, right? So this is the product right here. We're not getting any errors here. We're not getting any errors. So it's something in the app. It's something that it's not displaying it correctly, because it's able to connect to RevenueCat, and RevenueCat is able to get the products, right? So you see this is our product right here. This is this product right here. So there's something in the app that we need to find and to fix, because this API request is correct, right? This offerings, it's getting the offerings. So we're probably not parsing something correctly in our app. So that is what we need to fix. Now, the issue that we have is we are not displaying the available packages correctly. I mean, we're able to connect to RevenueCat. RevenueCat is able to get the stuff we need, but this is not giving us the right thing. Okay, so I went ahead and updated this function to work correctly. Okay, so this is the new function right here. And instead of, just displaying available packages, we need to look at every single package and get the actual information here, right? Because packages, right, it's kind of this high level structure, okay? And you can learn how it all works by, going to RevenueCat and reading its SDK, or kind of learning how this works. But I went ahead and did this for you guys, okay? So what I have here is I'm looking at the available packages, and for each package, I'm making a list of this string here, right? So we're going to be getting the identifier and the price string, okay? And that's going to give us a list of items, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to hit save. We're going to compile this, see if there's any issues, but there should be no issues here, because we have this dependency here, and we're also using this include here, this import here. Okay, so let's go ahead and wait for this to compile. All right, so went ahead and compiled perfectly, and now what we can do is we can download this code, because remember, we don't want to be testing it here. We want to be testing it on a real simulator, okay? That's going to be a lot more reliable. So we're going to go ahead and copy this, execute this command line, go into my app here and start my Xcode. And I'm going to go ahead and open Visual Studio Code. All right, so I got my app here loaded in my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go ahead and select my simulator here. Okay, so I also have my real device, but I want to run it on a simulator. So I'm going to select this, and I have my simulator running here with the old app. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and rerun it. All right. And our app is up and running. This is our app. And so if I click this button, it should display the first of the packages in our offer. So if I click this, we see the ID of the package, and we see the price here. Okay. And so as you can see, this works fine. And what this means is that we have a way to connect to RevenueCat to get our products, and we can do all kinds of things, right? And so now what we need to do is we need to go back and we need to build the other functionality, right? So I have here purchase product, where you need to pass in the product ID here, okay, as an argument, and that's going to go ahead and purchase it, right? So when they see the product, all we need to do is pass this identifier here, okay? And that way they'll be able to purchase it. And once they purchase it, we're going to set the purchase premium to true. We're going to rebuild our app state using this here. And at this point, they're going to have the entitlement. Okay, so at this point, what we need to do is we need to build the logic in the app. We no longer, this was just for testing. We can delete that. But what we really need to do here is we need to build out paywalls, essentially. And we can do this with FlutterFlow. We don't need to worry about RevenueCat and all of this extra things, right? Because we have this app state, remember? We have this purchase premium. So if it's false, we display one thing. If it's true, we display something else, okay? And so the first thing that I want to do is I want to display, let's say, 3 cities if they haven't purchased the premium, okay? So in this case, what we can do is we can have, a couple things, right? We have this list view here, but what we can do is we can go in here, this card, and we can say, well, only display the card if it's, the first, second, or third element, but do not display it if it's, anything after that. Okay, so we can do it on the card level here. Okay. Another thing that we can do is we can go to list view, and we might not pass cities directly. We can just pass the first 3 cities here, right? So instead of passing cities, this could be some kind of a check, right? So we can have a conditional. Okay, so as an example, we're passing everything here, but what we can do is we can come in here and we can create a conditional. There's lots of ways of doing it. So this is one way. We can say, well, app state, and let's say purchase premium is true, then go ahead and pass cities, right? Come in here and pass cities. Okay, that's it. If this is false, then what we want to do is we want to pass just the first 3 elements of cities. Okay, and so what we can do is we can create a code expression. Actually, we can't do it here. Okay, so it's not letting us do a code expression, which would have been perfect. And so what we can do is a custom function. Okay, so I can come in here and let's say get 3 items. Okay, so something like this. We're going to be passing a list of strings, and we're going to be inputting a list of strings. So a list of strings. So let's say list of strings. Okay, any list. And here what we can do is we can just return just the first 3 items, right? And for that, first of all, let me go ahead and just return some blank so I can save it. I can just save it so we have it. And now I can go back and I can use CodePilot. Okay, and I can say something like this: return the first three items. Okay, and that's it. Let's go ahead and run it. And this should be very, very easy for the AI code assistant to accomplish. But for us, we need to look up the actual Dart function. Okay, so the Dart function is the sublist. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it. Okay, come back here, and that's it. So that's all it's doing. It's returning a sublist from 0 to, to 3, or the length, or 3, right? Whichever is less. So if we have a list of like 2 items, we are going to be just returning that whole list. But if we have a list of like, 4 items, then we're just going to return 3 items, right? So this is a nice check here. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and hit save. And now we can just go in here, get cities, confirm. Okay. So if it's purchase premium, if this is true, it comes back with all the cities, and that way all the cities are displayed. If not, we're going to be just passing 3 cities. Okay. And so this return type, actually, let me see, return type string. Yeah. So this is a string and this is a list. Okay. Confirm. Okay. Hit save. And now we have a conditional here. Okay. Let's see what's happening here. Custom function. Okay. It's just a one-liner. And so let's go ahead and try it in a simulator. Okay. Just to make sure everything works as expected. So we're going to come back here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, go back, paste that there. Okay, now it's done. Go to this directory, open my code editor here, and we have iOS simulator here. Let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. All right, so here's our app, and as you can see, we're only seeing 3 items. Okay, and that is because we don't have premium access. If premium access was true, we would have, this would have gotten the entire list. But because it's false, it's only getting a sub list. Okay, so that's one way that you can limit it. And another thing that we can do is we can display a little kind of card here that says, hey, you don't have access. Do you want to see more items? Click here to purchase. Okay, and here they'll be able to purchase and get more items. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out so that we have the whole flow, because right now we're only limiting the app what they can see, but we need them to unlock the premium access, and we can do that by displaying a little card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this column and I'm going to go ahead and add a card here. This card is going to be displayed here, and we can have it displayed. Let's take a look at how the other ones are being done, right? So if you take a look, you see this is one example, right? Go ahead and put this over here. So this is one way to do it. Okay, so let's do something simple. Okay, something very, very simple that gets them to purchase. So let's go ahead and skip this and let's display this and maybe one of these or all of these. In fact, we can do all of these. Okay, so let's do actually something very simple without this image. Okay, so let's start with a let's see what we can do. We can start with, so it's going to be 3 rows or maybe even 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's do a row. Let's go ahead and collapse this one. Let's do 1, and we are going to wrap them in a column, right? Because they need to be wrapped in something. So 4 rows. This first one is going to have a text, which we're going to center. In fact, the column is going to be centered. It is centered here. Okay. And now, in fact, if you want to center the whole thing, we need to wrap it in a row, this whole thing, or we can center the individual rows. It's up to you. So why don't we go ahead and center the individual rows? So this is going to say get outdoors with us. So we're going to put something like get premium access. Okay, so something like this. Let's go ahead and make it bigger. Does that look good? Maybe a little bit bold. Okay, that looks better. And let's go ahead. So here we can display more cards, right? So what we can do is we can actually, there's a lot of things that we can do, right? We can have a list and display a list of items. Next, we're going to go ahead and add a list here, okay? So that we can display different items, but this list view is going to be horizontal instead of vertical, and that way we can display all the items like this, horizontal. All right, and next we are going to say something like include 7-day free trial, which is kind of what we have. So this makes sense. Let's go ahead and center this row right here, and we're going to say includes 7-day free trial, and the last one is going to be the continue button. All right, so we're gonna have a button. Oops, yes. We're gonna center this row right here, gonna be centered, and let's give it a little bit of padding, right? So we can do something like maybe 10. 10 is nice. Let's do 10 on this row, and let's do 10 on this one as well. Okay, and that looks a little bit better. We'll see how this looks. And let's make this button. So we're gonna get the width. Let's do 300, and let's get those rounded corners there. Okay, so we can do something like this. That looks pretty good, right? Let's make it a little bit wider. You can do 330, something like that. Maybe it's just too rounded. How about 15? Okay, 15 looks kind of cool. And this is gonna say continue. All right, that looks good. And so this list is gonna be fed from that custom action, right? So if we go over here, we can actually feed it, but we can't feed it here because that is a custom action, right? You can only feed custom functions. And so what we are gonna do is we are going to load it when this loads, right? We're going to load it when the app loads and then feed it using page state. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go ahead and execute it. This is what get offerings, right? So this get offerings gives us back a list. So this is perfect. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and execute it. And I'm going to say out list offerings. And let's go ahead and feed it, right? So this is a list of strings. Let's go ahead, create a page state variable offerings. This is going to be string list of strings. Okay, and by default it's empty, but it's gonna be loaded, right? So over here we're gonna open this and we're gonna add a, we're gonna write to a page state variable the result, right? Set value, and this is gonna be action output, exactly this. And we want to rebuild the current page because otherwise this is gonna be empty. And so now we can feed it using this page state variable, and we can say offering item. Okay, do that. do this, and we're gonna put a text, and we're gonna we may want to let's see. So, well, we don't want to just do a text. We might want to do a card, right? So let's go ahead and wrap it in a card. In fact, I'm just gonna put a card right here, replace it, and then inside it we can have text. Okay, so something like this is going to be cleaner, and we can even do like elevation, something like this, and maybe 1. And let's go ahead and give this padding. Let's give this padding of 10, and let's give this padding of right. So let's take a look at this. So we have this list view, we have this card here, we have this nice expansion. So the problem is this list view, it doesn't have enough space over here, right, to fully expand. And so what we can do is we can go on this list view and we can also expand it, okay? And that's gonna display, and that's going to do a 50-50, okay? And this is fine because remember, by default, this is gonna display 3. So this is only gonna appear when this is 3. And so this is absolutely fine. And so now we can, you know, have as much text as we need, and it's gonna push it down. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So inside this card, I'm going to have a column, and I'm going to display various things. I'm going to replace this with a column, and I'm going to put text. And so let's do 2 texts for now, and let's go ahead and do padding. And so now we can display something, right? So I believe this is a list of strings. So there's only 1 string there to display, right? So if you go over here, we have this item here. So for now, it's just going to be 1. So we can delete the second one. Okay, this should be enough. And so it's going to display 1 item here. And so when they press continue, we are going to execute another custom action that's going to go ahead and purchase it, right? So if you go over here, we're going to add an action, custom action, purchase product, and then we're going to pass the product ID, which is going to be this value here. So right now, the issue is we have this identifier and the price string. So what we typically want to do is we want to just pass the identifier here, right? So what we can do, we can just split this string and just get the first part. Okay, that's going to be fine. Okay, and this example, okay, is an example here. So I'm just going to do a code expression. I'm going to pass the actual value. Oh, actually, we can't do it because this continue is not, it needs to be inside this list view, right? Because it needs to know what we are clicking on. Okay, so if we take a look at this list view over here, you have a card. What we need to do is we need all of this to be inside. So something like this. Let me go ahead and fix that. So yeah, let me go ahead and fix this row. It needs to be right here. And then this text needs to be right here. Actually, let me see, this list view, we have a card. So what we can do actually, let me see, let's go ahead and wrap this in a column. Okay, now we have this. So now we have this and we have this. So this I can put here. That's not gonna work because this needs to be, yeah, this needs to be outside. That's not gonna work because obviously a list you cannot have each button. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna undo all of that. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is we're gonna track which item gets clicked on, okay? And that way we can track what the user is trying to purchase, okay? And so the idea is they can select first and then press continue, right? Otherwise, we don't want to have a button for each of these items, okay? So I'm going to create another page state variable. This is going to be the one selected, and I'm going to store the reference ID, the product ID of the selected, right? I'm going to say string, and it's going to be nullable. So initially, nothing is selected. There's no product ID. And then when they click on it, right? So when they select it, we're going to have it because they need to select it, right? So it's very, very important. So if they select it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to update my page state with whatever they selected. I'm going to say product ID, set value, and then I'm going to do my code expression. I'm going to pass a string, and the string is going to be our offer item. And then I'm going to take my offer item, you know, we have it as var1 just to save time. We're going to split it by spaces, and we are going to take the first of the items, right? So that should give us what we need, right? So we're going to check for errors, and that should give us the value, right? So because if the item has, you know, space, whatever, that should do. In fact, we can even split it by this, and we can take the first one and then trim all the empty stuff. Okay, so let's see if this works. Because we are essentially we are printing them out. We're getting those elements with this in the middle. Okay. And so we're going to take the first one, and then it's going to have some space at the end. So we're going to do trim. Okay. And then we're going to set this to the expression here. Okay. And so now when they press this, we are going to pass this, the page state, the product ID. Okay. And that's going to go to the flow. Okay, let's take a look at what we have. Custom code, should be no issues over here. Okay, now it looks good. So just to kind of go through it again. And one thing that I want to do over here, so I want this column to be centered like this, kind of in the middle. And that looks pretty clean. You know, it's not going to be like this, but it's going to be close. Right, it's going to display what we needed to display. Get premium access. Let's do a little bit of padding on this card. Let's see. Perfect. No, not on the card. On this column. Perfect. Okay, that looks better. And we can also do it on the card as well. Just like with this list view here, right? Not this list view. This column doesn't have a padding. List view doesn't have a padding. Let's do it on the actually these cards, they have a padding. That's the thing, right? This card has a padding of 10, right? Left and right. And we'll do the same thing on this card. All right, looks perfect. And also, very important, we want to make sure that this card is only displayed if premium purchase is false. So this needs to be conditional. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to search for premium, purchase premium, and I'm going to say opposite, right? So when it's false, when there's no purchase premium, we want this to be displayed. Okay, and then when they hit continue, we're going to be passing this product ID, because if you go over here, get offerings, it gets the packages, right? So we need to pass the package ID, right? Purchase package. So it's not even product ID, it's actually package. Get package ID. Let's see if it updates it. Yeah, so it updates it automatically over here. You don't have to do that. What do we have? Package ID is not specified yet because we've changed the argument. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that it's being passed correctly here, right? Okay, so I need to redo it. Code expression. Let's go ahead and add this. Page state product ID. So we need to rename it to package ID. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna split this by this. I'm gonna take the first thing, which is the reference, right? And then I'm going to trim it, and then I'm going to do this, and it looks good, right? Except let's go ahead and rename our page state variable from product ID to package nullable. Okay, so that is good. And also I want to disable this button if there's no product ID chosen, right? So we can have this disable options, and we can have a conditional single condition, and I'm gonna say package ID not set or empty. Okay, so if it's not set or empty, this button needs to be disabled. All right, lots of things are happening. Let's go ahead and see what we have. Package ID is not specified. Custom action purchase product, isn't this? Wait a second, this is it right here, right? Yeah, this is it right here. So why is that? Oh, because we changed the argument. So let's go ahead and do that again. Code expression, purchase no, it's actually going to be no, we don't need a code expression. This is just going to be the page state package ID, right? Because when we click here, we do all the logic, right? We do all the logic. We set package ID, code expression, var1, split. Let's get the first one trim. Let's go ahead and double check that. What? Current variable is not valid. Package ID string. This is string. Split. Yeah. Why is it giving me a hard time? Let's try that again. Code expression. I forgot to pass the argument. We're gonna get offerings. Now we can do it. var1. Split, and then we're gonna get the first one, and we're gonna trim it, remove all the white space and all that. Okay, confirm. Okay, so now it says, so there are two things that are happening here, right? Two logic pieces. When they click on it, we split it and we just save the package ID, which is the first thing. And then when they hit continue, we're going to be passing this package ID here, right? So purchase product, we're going to go into page state package ID. Okay, so that should work. And we need to compile custom widgets. Why is this? Huh, you see that? It just cleared it. That's What is going on? Is it a bug or something? Let me refresh FlutterFlow. I thought I was going crazy. Is it clearing my stuff? Let's try this again. So I go on this card. No, right here, this card. Let me go ahead and collapse that. So I click on this card. Package ID is code expression. Pass this and offering item. Confirm. var1 split. First one trim. Confirm. Okay, so now we have it set here. It's not gonna clear it for me, is it? Okay, so it is set. And if I go over here, package ID. Okay, so that looks good. I don't know what was happening before, but now it looks good. And also let's double check that this card is only if they haven't purchased premium, which is by default. Okay, so let's double check. We take the first one. Okay, so this looks good. Let's go ahead and double check our custom functions here. Okay. Looks good. No errors. Let's come back again. Okay, it's there. It's there. All right. So sometimes, I don't know, maybe it was a fluke. I don't know what it was. All right. We're going to come over here and get this command line argument, get command line command, and go back here. I'm going to go ahead and go back. Go to my app, open it in Visual Studio Code. I have it open right here. And let's go ahead and run it and hope it works. Let's go ahead and select our simulator here. There's our simulator. Let me go ahead and run it now with the simulator selected. All right, so here's our app. As you can see, we're only showing 3 cities, right? And it's asking us to get premium access. And here we are displaying the whole thing. So we only have one package as part of this offer. Okay, $39.99, and we have a product code. And so if I click on it, we should press continue and we should purchase this package. So if I click on it, press continue, and the problem is it says here package not found. If we go over here, if we go to our app and we go to custom actions, this is what we are executing, right? So as you can see, it says package not found. And the reason it says package not found is it doesn't find it by this package ID. So if we go into RevenueCat here and we go into products and we click here, you can see that this is correct. Right, this is correct over here. So even if we go into offerings and we go over here and we have this identifier here, this is correct. It should be correct, right? It should be exactly what we want because that is exactly what we're displaying. And so if we go back to our app over here, we have this get offerings and we have package store product identifier, package store product price. Okay, so this is correct. Product identifier. Maybe we have an issue with this. We're not filtering correctly. So what I'm going to do real quick, and remember guys, you're going to get the fixed version of this. You're going to get the stuff that works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of debugging here, right? And you won't have to do this. Okay, I'm just showing you how I would do it. So this is what's getting executed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of debugging. Okay, I'm going to say trying to purchase, and then I'm going to say what the product is. I'm going to say package ID. Okay, and then a semicolon. So that way we can see what the product, what is the package ID? Is it correctly being parsed? Is it correctly being passed? What if there's nothing being passed? So we need to make sure. Okay, so I'm gonna hit save and I'm gonna do all this and I'm gonna go ahead and re-download the code. And then I'm going to rerun the app to see if there's some issue here. So we're going to go ahead and re-download the code and then re-execute the whole thing. Come back here, reload my window, and let's go ahead and rerun it, see what's happening. All right, here's our app. Let's go ahead and click here, and we click here. Okay, and it says, yeah, try to purchase the package. This is correct. This is absolutely correct. So our logic was correct, but for some reason it's not working. Let's go ahead and take a look what's happening with our app. This is the package ID here. Is that correct? Get offerings, store product. Okay, I think the issue is we're displaying the product ID, not the package ID. Okay, so let me go ahead and see what's happening here. We're trying to get package. Purchase package. Yes, that's the problem. We're displaying the product ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. I'm just going to put identifier here. Okay, now it's going to have the package identifier instead of the store product identifier. Okay, so now it should work. Okay, let's go ahead and hit save. This should work because this has no idea if this is correct. This should work over here. All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and try this again. And I have a feeling it's going to work. We're going to re-download the app. Okay. Come back to our Visual Studio Code. We're going to reload this window. And now it says package identifier correctly. All right, let's go ahead and start our simulator right here. All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and do this. See if that works. All right, here we are. Okay, so this is the moment of truth now. And so as you can see, now it's displaying the actual package identifier. Okay. And so we can go back here, and if we go into offerings, you can see that offerings are made up of packages. And here we have an identifier. Okay, this is the identifier that contains this product. Let's go back here, our simulator. We select this, it selected this. Hit continue, and there it is. Yearly plan, $39.99. We're in Xcode. We can go ahead and subscribe, and then it's telling us trying to purchase. Okay, so now it finds it. Everything is okay. Let's go ahead and hit subscribe. We've subscribed to it. You're all set. Your purchase was successful. Okay, and let's see what happens. So we should have access. We should have access to this. Let me go ahead and refresh it. Let me go ahead and reload this app. And as you can see, now it's displaying it. Okay, so we need to work on the part where it refreshes it. Okay, so now it's correct. Now it's correct. Okay. Another thing that we want to do is we want to make sure this is turned on according to the app state variable, and maybe they can click on it and manage their subscription as well. Okay, so a couple of things that we might want to do. Okay, so let's go back to our app over here, and let's go and modify this, right? So let's go back here. Let's go to settings. And we want to make sure that this is linked. And here, we're going to click right here, and we're going to go to our app state and set it to this. And so this is going to be set if this is true. And the other thing that we can do is we can make them click here and log in and see their subscription. So for instance, we can do something like this. Premium, click to manage. Something like this, right? And so now when they click on it, what we're going to do is we're going to do a custom action, purchase product. Okay. And here we can pass a, whatever, the package ID. And because they've already purchased it, they're going to have this managed screen. Okay. So let's go back here and let's go ahead and get this identifier, this package identifier, put it here. And if they click on this, they're going to see another screen. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, let's go ahead and rebuild our app over here. I'm basically executing this command. I'm going to type code, load it into my thing. I'm going to do reload my window so that we refresh the window with the new stuff. Click here. All right, now let's go ahead and select our simulator here. All right, and let's go ahead and run it in the simulator. And hopefully that will work. All right, there's our app. And as you can see, all four of them are showing. That means that it has validated our app purchase. Everything is legit. Click here. This is selected, right? Because we're on premium. And if we click here, it's telling us you're currently subscribed to this. Your 1 month subscription renews. So we can click on manage and you can do a bunch of things here. You can cancel this. You have all these things. And that is our plan. So I can cancel, I can leave this, I can go back here and I have all this. And even if I cancel this, right? Even if I cancel this, I will still have the subscription for another week until this date here, okay? Which is the expected behavior. And this is my plan right now. You know, after the trial ends, I'm going to be on a yearly plan. I'm going to be charged and all of that. And by the way, when this app loads, it checks whether I have access to this, right? It makes sure that I do have access to this, and that is why it's showing it is that, right? And so that is how you do in-app purchase. Obviously, there's many things that we can do. Still, we can modify a lot of things, but the key here is in the custom actions that I'm going to be including for my amazing Patreon subscribers, right? You're going to get these custom actions here that allow you to easily kind of get started and start building your app. Plus, you'll be able to connect with other members, ask questions, deal with any issues, stuff like that. And that's one of the big benefits of joining our amazing Patreon community, right? There's lots of stuff there, access to this app, all my other apps, connect with the community. Also, you're going to get access to my new weekly podcast, kind of this behind the scenes series where I talk about things that I'm working, all of this kind of extra information that I don't really kind of, dive that deep in these videos, right? So you're gonna get access to a lot of more kind of content, more value that's gonna allow you to kind of surpass the barriers and build the apps of your dreams. All right. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this, right? This was a real app so that you can realize how to implement in-app purchase in your app, right? And you can do that anywhere. You can do this all over the place using the app state variables. All right, guys. So definitely join our amazing Patreon community. Check out my trainings. If you're serious about no code, mastering FlutterFlow, and mastering Supabase, and join our amazing Patreon community.